1901st regular meeting of the City Council. It was held on July 20th.
Madam President, I'll second that.
Okay. Madam Clerk, would you please take the vote on approval of the minutes?
Councilmember Donovic,
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly,
Aye.
Councilmember Toy,
I think she just sent me, I believe she approves.
Vice President Barr.
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, there we go.
They
Councilmember White.
unmuted me. Yeah,
Okay.
they unmuted me. Sorry.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember McCullough, he was there. President McIntyre.
I think Councilmember McCullough may be muted. Aye.
And I said aye as well.
Okay, all right, so we've approved the minutes. So at this time, I'd like to welcome everyone to the 1902nd regular meeting of the Livonia City Council. Tonight's meeting is a voting meeting. Minutes of this meeting will be approved at the next regular meeting, which is scheduled to be held on Monday, August 17th, 2020. And before we move ahead with council person announcements, I believe that our parliamentarian, Kathy White, is going to read the meeting rules for us.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll try to make this as quick as possible. First of all, we need to keep in mind the primary purpose of the council meetings is to conduct the business of the city. And the rules are in place to make sure that we are able to conduct business efficiently. Having said that, the rules are as follows. Members of the public audience at the meeting shall not speak until they are recognized by the chair. Each person recognized by the chair to address the council shall identify himself or herself by name and, if appropriate, group affiliation. A person addressing the council on an item on the agenda shall be limited to 2 minutes unless the period of time is extended by a majority of the council president and shall be recognized to speak prior to council's consideration of the item. There will be an audience communication section of not more than 30 minutes duration at the beginning of all council and regular and study meetings where citizens may address the council. There will also be an audience communication section at the end of all regular and study council meetings where citizens may address council on any matter that is not on the agenda of that meeting. Citizens who wish to expand upon their remarks will be asked to reduce the matter to writing and submit it to the city clerk, and such item may be placed on a future council meeting for further council study session for further consideration. A person addressing council under the audience communication section of the agenda will be limited to a total of 3 minutes at each study and regular meeting unless the period of time is extended by a majority of the council present. Citizens who wish to expand on their remarks will be asked to reduce the matter in writing and submit it to the city clerk. Such item may be placed on a future council study session for future consideration. There will also be an audience communication section at the end of all regular and study council meetings where citizens may address council on any matter that is not on the agenda of that meeting. A citizen may address the council once during audience communication. If the citizen has addressed the council during the first audience communication period at the beginning of the meeting, the citizen will not be permitted to address the council again during any audience communication period at the end of the meeting. Anyone addressing the council shall make responsible comments. Impertinent, personal, slanderous, or profane remarks are not permitted. And finally, anyone causing a breach of the peace may be removed from the council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. And those are taken directly from our city ordinance. They are the rules that are in place and have been in place and can be looked up directly on our list of ordinances. Thank you very much, Councilmember White. At this time, I would like to go to the council for any personal announcements, tributes, or recognition.
Madam President,
Yes, Councilmember Jolly.
as the council's representative on the city retirement board, it's my pleasure to announce the retirement of Senior Police Sergeant Wade Higginson after 29 years of service. We thank Sergeant Higginson for his service and his contributions not only to Livonia, but really Southeast Michigan. He was an important member of a unit in Southeast Michigan dedicated to internet crimes against children. I had an opportunity during my time at the court to work with him in some ways over time. It was a great man, and we wish him the best going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Jolly. Anyone else from the council have any announcements they would like to make at this time?
Madam President,
Vice President Barr, and then we'll go to Councilmember Toy.
actually, go to Toy next because just go to Toy next. I'll go last. Thanks.
Councilmember Toy. Councilmember Toy, are you with us?
I am with you. I'm sorry, we're having a lot of technical difficulties here. What was
Okay.
the question, Madam Chair? I'm
No,
sorry, Councilman Barr.
did you have an announcement or recognition you wanted to make?
Yeah, further down on the schedule I did.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
Then
I'm sorry, yes.
That's quite all right. Then it's difficult. We were in the Zoom groove. We went back to one meeting and now we're back once again to Zoom. So we all have our Zoom sea legs again. President Barr.
Thank you, Madam President. And the reason I asked for her to go next is I meant to say this after Councilwoman White read off the rules, and it's not really audience communication. But I'd like to propose that we have the law department just look into it relative to council rules, a clarification as to our rules regarding signs in the auditorium, as well as just what we might be allowed to do with that. Not that there's anything wrong with signs per se, they can be very effective, but within the auditorium, it's been my understanding in the past that we did not allow those. I now understand our ordinance doesn't actually specify that. And I'd just like to get a little more educated as to what our parameters are with that. So I'd like to offer that resolution if there'd be support to vote on that.
Support.
Or was that from Council Member Donovic?
Yes, Madam President.
Okay. And any comments on that? All right, Madam Clerk, would you please go ahead and take the vote on the resolution that Vice President Barr has answered to refer the issue of clarifying sign rules for the auditorium during meetings to the administration.
Councilmember Donovic,
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly,
Aye.
Councilmember Toy,
Aye,
Vice President Barr,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember McCullough,
Aye.
President McIntyre.
Aye, and the resolution passes, so we will be referring that matter to the administration recommendation. Thank you. Does anyone else have any announcements that they would like to make? All right, seeing none, I'd like at this time to announce our department heads, and this is always a little tricky to do on Zoom. We have with us, and I'm just going in order of who shows up on my screen, our Director of Legislative Affairs, Ms. Judy Prevey. We have our city clerk, Susan Nash, who's worked a very, very long 48 hours. We have our honor to have our mayor, Maureen Miller-Brosnan, with us this evening. Our attorney, Paul Bernier. Our city engineer, Todd Zielinski. Our Director of Economic Planning and Development, Mr. Mark Taramina. We have our IT department with us this evening, and I'm going to cut over to attendees because I think we have some department heads on there. Let's see. I see David Varga, our Director of Administrative Affairs, and I believe I saw Mike Slater, our Finance Director. And my apologies if I'm missing any department heads who are on who I did not see in the attendees. All right. I do have two announcements to make. One is that we have one X item at the end of the meeting, and we also have new data on items number 7, 10, and X1, and I will refer to that new data and more specific information when we reach those items. At this time, we go to the audience for audience communication as our Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to make a quick kind of announcement to let everyone know last night election. First of all, I have to thank the team here in the clerk's office. A harder working team in this city, there is not. With the details that we have to take care of, the laws, the dotting the i's, the crossing the t's, we hit them all. There might be some things that might not, but they're not part of the step-by-step of what we have to follow with election law. They do an absolutely amazing job. And when in the middle of the night, I'm asking for help, they're right there. No one backed away. So I have to thank everybody here in the clerk's office. But I also have to give another thanks to, and I shared this with Mayor Brosnan last week. As a clerk, I consider myself extremely lucky. Not every clerk has the relationship and the support that I have. I have the support of a mayor. I have the support of all 7 council members. I have the support of the treasurer. Everybody has always been there. And in these challenging times and changing times with elections, to know that I have that is very comforting. And it lets me sleep. Last week, every department head that I reached out to was right there to help me, whatever I needed. As soon as I sent a message, something was taken care of. And that says a lot about the team, the whole team here in the city of Livonia. So I have to give a huge shout out and thank you to everyone for that. We had record numbers. We had record numbers of absentee. We had well over 23,000. We had almost 23,000 absentee ballots get tabulated last night. I know the final numbers didn't come into the early morning, but the ballots were tabulated sooner. They were done faster than we've ever had them done and had higher quantities. What the holdup was the adjudication, and it did exactly what it was supposed to do. And that's what we were doing until 6 o'clock in the morning, was the adjudication of ballots that had erratic marks or spoils or crossovers. And there's going to be a lot of that in a primary when people have to stay within a party line. So the system worked. We were here. We got it done. And also to the people that volunteered and worked in the precincts, thank you. Thank you for coming out in these challenging times in COVID. Thank you to those that stayed in the counting boards. At 4 o'clock, I was addressing the team saying, I need people to stay. And right away, I had people that were exhausted say, we're here, Susan, we're staying, we will stay with you. And that means a lot, that people care that much, that they want to see this process done and this done correctly. So again, thank you to the citizens of Livonia. Thank you to council, the mayor, the treasurer, everyone, and all the department heads for your help and support.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I know Vice President Barr wants to make some comments, and I'd just like to say a personal thank you to you and your exceptional team and to everybody who is part of this Herculean effort. So thank you very much. Vice President Barr.
Thanks. And Clerk Nash, I'll echo those thanks. I have a couple questions, not intended at all as challenges. It's purely for my education. You talked about the adjudication process working as it should, and that being what took a lot of the time. At what point did we have, what time did we have all the ballots counted, without that adjudication process?
Well, my timeline is not exact because I wasn't always
Fair enough.
looking at the clock. Yep. Okay. I would say well before 1 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. And the reason I ask is just because I know you've been diligent about trying to get equipment to help speed up that process. And so I was just curious as to where that stood.
The equipment was working, the adjudication, and I'll give a quick explanation again for people that might not remember, because I know it sounds, what is adjudication? And adjudication is, in the past, if there was a ballot that there was an erratic mark, a crossover, an overvote, an undervote, the tabulator would stop. And we would have to count down to that ballot. It would say ballot number 4, ballot number 5 in the batch. We'd have to physically stop, count down, pull that ballot, look at that ballot. 2 people, 4 eyes, a Republican and a Democrat, look at the ballot and determine what is wrong. And if it had to be spoiled, it was spoiled, or if it could be duplicated, it was duplicated. So that was a very time sensitive. It took a lot of time. With adjudication, instead of the batch stopping, if there was a problem in the batch, if there was a ballot that had crossover votes, it continued the batch, but the image of that ballot went to another computer. And I had 6 people, actually, they were almost on the whole time, 3 Republicans and 3 Democrats looking at the screen at all times, determining what was going on. At one point, we had well over 1,200 ballots in the queue to be looked at. And as fast as they could look at them, they were filling back up from the scanners going as fast as they were. So then they went ballot by ballot and looked at that. And so we were done scanning, but those still had to be taken care of. So yes, it seemed like the adjudication was holding us up, but without adjudication, we probably wouldn't have finished scanning till 6, 7 o'clock in the morning.
So you're able to be scanning absentee ballots throughout the day, correct?
Yes, we cannot open an envelope as the law stands at this moment in time until 7 a.m. on election day. The moment the polls open, that's when we can start. People are sequestered. They don't have their cell phones. They're in a room.
So
They can start opening, and it takes a good hour to 2 hours from when we start until the first ballot goes through a tabulator, because we have to check, cross-check, look at lists to make sure everything that we're seeing in front of us, this group of ballots is on this list and should be exactly where they're supposed to be.
So my third and final question, again, this is just my curiosity, but the adjudication then that you're doing late, or I say late in the night, early into the morning, is that primarily votes that were cast during the day, or does that include AV ballots?
That was 100% AV ballots.
Okay.
When somebody is at a precinct and whatever happens with your ballot, you rested the pen in a bubble by accident, or you overvoted, or you spoiled because you crossed over. When you put the ballot in at the precinct, it's going to stop and tell you right then and there.
Okay.
So you have the ability then to fix it. Once it's an absentee ballot and it goes in there, the voter is not able to fix that because they're not here. We don't know. By the time a ballot gets to the scanner, there is no way of marking whose ballot that is. It is now completely anonymous. So we would never know whose that is. And that's why it's important to have as many eyes on every ballot as you can have.
Thanks for explaining that
You're welcome.
and for all your hard work.
Thank you very much. And again, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any comments or questions?
Just to echo the thanks to Susan, great job in a difficult situation.
Councilmember McCullough?
Yeah, Clerk, let the staff know. I mean, the amount of everything changing, going absentees over the last year, it has got to be, from an operational standpoint, you guys had to do a lot of thinking outside the box and different measures. So by you guys able to pull it off and do as well, please give kudos to the staff. And thank you for all you do. It was nothing short of exceptional.
Thank you. It actually took almost 2 weeks to just open. I had 2 people just opening the applications, looking at them and sorting them out and getting them ready to even before we could do anything. And it was, Mayor Brosnan came downstairs one day and we had these little trays lined up by 44s to be able to, we were beyond using expanding folders. We had to have big tables set up in the lobby. So we issued over 27,000. And we also have approximately 6,000 plus applications that we received back that were for November only ballots, because residents had the choice to choose if they wanted August and November, just August, just November. So we have applications ready to go for just November to add to the August and November ballots. So our first mailing for the November election will be well over 30,000, which is more than twice what we've ever seen before. And then I'm going to take a break.
As you should.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember McCullough. Councilmember Toy. Hi. Hello.
I'm very sorry. We're having a lot of technical difficulties and we have two people over here trying to figure it out.
No problem.
We got to figure it out. I want to commend our clerk as well. But from what I hear, this is not unusual from all over the state. You know, after the Secretary of State put out all those nice notices to everyone to vote absentee, we had tons of people voting absentee. And we'll probably continue that through the general, it sounds like, correct, Madam Clerk? Yeah, so appreciate all your work. And why don't you leave a training manual for the next clerks coming in, because I got a feeling they're gonna need it, okay? All right, thank you so much. Sorry, Madam President, about this technical difficulty.
No problem. We're
I
all,
face sooner or later.
yeah, it's working out. I can see when you want to speak and I'm able to acknowledge you.
Okay.
So thank you. All right, if no one else from the council has anything at this time, we will go to audience communication. And everyone heard the rules as read by our council member and our parliamentarian, Kathy White. And our parliamentarian will also be serving as the timekeeper. He will let speakers know they have 30 seconds left when they've reached the end of their time. So we will begin. I see number of hands, and I'll remind you that it's now 7:23. So we will wrap up the first part of audience communication at 7:53 this evening. All right, we'll begin with Ms. Tricia Duckworth. And I think you should.
Oh, Council, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here with you all tonight. Just wanted to address a few concerns. One, this week, maybe about a week and a half ago, we reached out to Council President Barr, and we also reached out to Councilperson McCullough. We reached out because we wanted to assist and help draft the language for hopefully what would be a resolution against racism. Now, we didn't receive a call back, unfortunately, until today from Mr. Barr and the day before yesterday from Mr. McCullough, which to me says that this information that we want to give is not important to your resolution, even if you're going to create one, we don't know. But we don't understand why council is taking the position not to talk to the constituents. Now, there's been talk of me not being a constituent because I do not live in Livonia, but we were called to the table by the constituents of Livonia to advocate and to represent. So the nonchalant attitude by the two individuals that we reached out to, in our opinion, was just very disrespectful and shows a lack of caring for Black lives. So it is our hope that, again, you all will work with us to help build this language if you are going to actually, in fact, create a resolution declaring racism a public health crisis. Now, we also reached out to you, President McIntyre, in which you were very rude to us. I called asking questions. There was another constituent who asked questions. Again, that is our right? Because you are a public servant. You stated you were on vacation. I don't know anyone who would just answer their phone on vacation, but you did do that. So once you answered the phone, I would have thought that you would have acted more professional than what you did. You said, "Oh, Miss Duckworth, people calling me." Well, you're right. We do have constituents that are reaching out, and that is their right. The voice of the people is rising. So at the end of the day, for you to take the stance that you did was totally disrespectful. We want to work. We want to build. And unfortunately, it looks as if you're not.
30 more seconds, 30 more seconds on your time.
Okay, you silenced our voices at the last meeting. And I just want you to know we will not be silent. We are standing here. We are going to do what's right, and we hope that you will too and build with us, because we're not going anywhere.
Thank you. Are you finished? Thank you, Ms. Duckworth. All right.
No justice, no peace.
I'm going to ask you to mute your phones, please. Next, we will go to.
Madam President,
Yes.
sorry, I have just
Vice President Barr.
Yeah, just a simple response to that, and for Ms. Duckworth's benefit. I was on vacation last week, and so if I'm the first person you've met that unplugs on vacation, then here I am. But I did, and actually just today caught up with my voicemails from while I was gone. So I apologize for the delay. I actually called you back within minutes of getting your voicemail. So that's the explanation why. That's it.
Thank you.
All right. No one else wishes to address that, then we will move on, please, to Alexandria H.
Hello, this is Alexandria. I'm with Livonia Citizens Caring for Black Lives as well as Freedom Fighters. At the last City Council meeting, many citizens and those from surrounding areas expressed concerns regarding racism in Livonia, specifically how African Americans are targeted by Livonia police. Our concerns was met with the City Council President's gavel. Since then, Governor Whitmore has declared racism a public health crisis. In addition to that, Westland has also declared a public health crisis as well. Southfield has also taken measures to address racism. And on top of that, the Livonia PAC website clearly illustrates troubling data. So I'm here to ask, here today, can the City Council and the Mayor of Livonia publicly state that racism is a public health crisis? And if not, can you explain why?
Thank you for your comments, Alexandria. I don't know if anyone would like to comment on this. For your comment,
Answer, please.
Pardon me?
Can I please have an answer to my question?
We've listened to what you have to say, as I've explained at previous meetings. No one is required to respond to audience communications. We appreciate your question, and we do not require to respond. Okay. All right, we will go next to Anita Warner. Good evening. Are you, I think we should be able to hear you. I'm having a difficult time unmuted, but I'm trying. Right here. Danielle, are you able to help me? I'm not able to.
I requested that she unmute her her phone, but I'm unable to unmute her from.
All right, I think you have to unmute yourself, I believe, Alexandria. All right, well, we're sorting that out. We'd certainly be happy to come back to Alexandria. I will go on now to Rian Johnson. Let's see.
Hello, my name is Ryan, not Rian.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's nice to see you guys again. I'm sure you can't see me, but I'm the woman that spoke last time, Black Senior Union Vice President. I go to school in your area. I'm just confused as to, we had a meeting. There was time for you guys to meditate on what was said, and nothing's happened. And the whole nation is in a race revolution. When race is a conversation that you cannot be silent on, it's not something that you can take a back seat on. You have to respond to what's going on. All lives do matter, yes, but there would be no Black Lives Matter if all lives matter. So that statement is false. And what I want to know, I want to demand actually, is that you verbally stop supporting the police as much as you do. Because there's multiple officers on your police force who have been accused of harassment and racially profiling your city. So it is your problem to fix it. Stop verbally agreeing with them. Stop verbally supporting them. That's my problem. You say that your city is welcoming to all. Well, Black people don't feel welcome. They don't. Nobody of color feels welcome. People all over Michigan know, don't travel through Livonia if you are of color because you could get in trouble. And you verbally support them. This is not okay. It's not right. And for you to just continue to have these meetings and talk about things that do not matter and spend 35 minutes thanking each other for how good of a job you do, why don't you address what's going on? I am here with these people. We are protesting in front of your building. I know you see us. Hey, we need you to fix this now. Racism is a health pandemic. It has been a crisis. It is a problem, and you need to address it. You cannot be silent anymore. I mean, unless you want us to keep coming, because we will. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. All right, we will go back to Alexandria, and I'm going to try to.
Can you get Anita Warner?
I'm sorry, Anita Warner. There you are. We already.
Okay. Can you hear me or see me or?
We can hear you. Thank you.
Can you see me?
No, we can't. We can hear you.
Oh man, I put on a good blouse too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right. Okay. I'm gonna make this real quick. I'm a resident of Livonia. My family and aunts and uncles and cousins, so many of them have moved here and lived here since the early 50s. I started here in the seventh grade. I'm sorry. I started here when I was 7 in the 2nd grade. I graduated from Bentley. I've lived in my residence now for over 40 years. So I grew up in Livonia. All 36 square miles I know. I want to I've been waiting to do this for so many years, okay? Just remember, I'm 75 years old. I grew up here. I know a lot of what's going on. All right, the first thing, and real quick, the buildings. You've taken all the lots, all the forests, whatever, you've taken this, and through the years, you have put strip mall just about at every 4 corners of just about every intersection. Most of those buildings are not filled, and yet you keep letting people come in and buy and buy and buy and build new and build new and build new. You've taken all of Livonia and turned it into brick buildings. I've hated this forever. I mean, if it's for money, taxes, money, 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 money. What are you going to do? You know, I'm just going to say, in the years to come, if this keeps happening and you keep selling new property and putting up new buildings for money and taxes, and excuse me for using this word, but it describes it best. In the years to come, and because of what's going on to this double-barreled isolation and the Black Lives Matter, this Livonia is going to become a ghetto. So you just got to fill up what we got. You've already destroyed the land. Okay. All right, my second one is just what the previous woman said. I've lived here since I was 7. I'm 75. I've seen, and I know, I've witnessed, and I've had every action with the police negative. I believe it all. I believe it all. There's a lot of people coming in from Detroit that work here or go through to other cities. I've seen it. I've witnessed it. I've had police lie. I've heard it. I've witnessed it. Police lie on a court stand. I don't trust them. I don't like them. They shouldn't be carrying guns.
30 seconds.
Okay, they shouldn't be carrying guns. They should not. Nobody should have a gun, but that's not going to happen in the world. Police should not have fatal guns, bullets, rubber bullets, or tasers or something. But I am totally against the Livonia police, the way they act, the way they talk, that police mentality. And you think it's all okay because you want to stand up and defend Livonia. Well, I do too, and I don't like the way it is. So I got years off my mind to say that. Thank you.
Ms. Warner, your time is up. Thank you for sharing your comments with us. Next, we will move to Pastor Edward Pruitt. Good evening.
Hello, this is Pastor Edward Pruitt. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. I am with Better Westland, Executive Director, but I'm also a pastor in Livonia. I wanted to come on and speak towards the racial disparity components. When we look at what's been said through the many people this week, the many people a couple weeks ago, what we find is that there are a lot of people who have concerns with what's going on in Westland. When we look at the statistics that come out, those are a concern as well. Having an interest in Livonia, I urge the council to take some time to really look at their stance, to really look at where their heart is, to look to see if there is true integrity and character. We saw an article that just came out, and when I saw that article, it was encouraging that the city council was willing to move forward on a racism, anti-racism resolution. But nothing has been done yet that we have seen. When we look at the governor with her executive orders and her executive directive, what we find is the governor is saying there is racism in the entire state of Michigan. That includes Westland. So my question today, and I understand that some comments may not be clear on what the direction is, but you're the council. You are called to work on behalf of the people, not just the people that you like, not just the people that support your agenda. You're here elected and paid for by the people. So we got to work for the people. So my question is, through the chair to Council President Kathleen McIntyre, at what point, better yet, let me change that question. When will you begin working on a racism is a health crisis that has actionable, long-term, sustainable change? And when can we see that on the city council agenda?
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Pruitt. If you looked at the evening's agenda, I think you would see something that we are working on that will be presented this evening, a statement on racism. So thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Next, we will go to, I see Kevin Schultz is up next.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Good evening.
Hi, my name is Kevin Schultz. I retired 8 years ago from the Livonia Police Department after 25 years as a patrol officer, dare officer, field evidence technician, and a trainer for new employees. I've also been a citizen of Livonia since I was 7. I tell you my history because there's a few officers using fake Facebook accounts to discredit my name. They're upset because I've backed someone that's been repeatedly harassed by the department in the past year. At the last city council meeting, Scott Barr told a woman to make a complaint at the police department if she feels she's been wronged by the police. Unfortunately, that's not so easy to do. It's intimidating for the complainant. I want to suggest that the city create a citizens board for all complaints against city employees, especially the police department. The police should not police themselves. 95% of the officers, past and present, are great people, but 5% makes us look bad. Though I know an officer that made racist remarks in the past and nothing happened to him. Diversity training doesn't take away what's in your heart. Would you be surprised to hear that Chief Cade was the internal investigations officer back then? Chief Cade created a page recently on the Livonia website that explained citizen complaints from 2019. He claimed there were 17 total complaints last year. Would you be surprised to hear that there were more than 17 complaints, that Chief Cade or one of his employees omitted at least 2, if not more? I have in my possession a complaint from 2019 involving one of Chief Cade's officers using racially derogatory words against Black people. This was conveniently omitted by Chief Cade's total. I know another complaint that was omitted as well. Would you be surprised to hear that I have video of 2 different complainants trying to make a complaint at the patrol desk, but the supervisor refused? This is why all complaints should go through a citizens board. I would love to talk more about this idea in the future. Are you aware that some of the current police administration have been sued by 5 different ex-employees for harassment? 2 won large settlements, but the administrator that was the instigator still holds his position. Council needs to talk to employees that have left the city to see that the lack of pension isn't the only reason why they leave LPD. Lastly, Mayor Brosnan mentioned on a Livonia community Facebook page that the city was hit hard financially by COVID. I asked the council if this is true with this hardship.
30 seconds.
The mayor wants.
30 seconds.
I want to know if it's true with the hardship, if the mayor wants this council to approve $1,000 per year of service for every officer at the police department. I still have friendships in the police department, and this could be a rumor. This would equate to $41,000 just to Chief Cade. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, moving on.
Madam President,
Yes, Vice President Barr, please.
would it be appropriate? I have a really quick question that I'd like to address through you to the mayor. I know she's in attendance. Is that okay for me to do right now?
Mayor, are you amenable to Vice President? Yes, Vice President Barr.
I didn't mean to jump the gun, but I see her nodding her head. I just, not having had time to process and to look into things, Mr. Schultz actually raises an interesting question. And Mayor, currently now, if we were to have a complaint against the police department, does that go to your office primarily, or does that go initially to the police?
It depends where it starts at, Vice President Barr. Oftentimes, complaints from residents are initiated through my office. They come here first. Sometimes they come to the police department first. Sometimes they come to council members first. There are a lot of doors for entry for complaints at this point.
Okay, that satisfies my question for now. Thank you, Mayor Brosnan. But it's an interesting question. I'll look into that a little bit more. Thanks.
All right, thank you. We move on to Heather.
Hi, I'm Heather. I'm a Livonia homeowner and a voter. Last meeting, Councilman Barr struggled to come up with ideas to address racism and profiling in Livonia. And as Alexandria mentioned, there are other cities in the Metro Detroit area that are setting an example that this council, the mayor, and Livonia Police Department can follow. Westland was mentioned, Southfield was mentioned. I'd like to read something from Southfield. It's a joint resolution between the council and the mayor, our sorrow and determination for a more equal and just society. Communities across the nation and around the world are overwhelmed with grief and anger over yet another death at the hands of a police officer employing excessive force. The recent deaths of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and sadly a legion of other people of color before them are based in racism and systemic bias toward minorities, the powerless, the economically disadvantaged. We recognize that the protests and demonstrations following the death of George Floyd in cities across the world are not just about police brutality, but also about voting rights, civil rights, equal pay, fair housing, equal opportunity, and protection under the law. We sincerely hope that George Floyd's death is not in vain and instead a catalyst for a thorough examination of our society's ills and the momentum for genuine change. We are in pain, as is our community, and we say enough is enough. Therefore, be it resolved that we, the mayor and the city council of the city of Southfield, join in the call by former President Barack Obama by pledging to do everything in our power to recognize and root out the tragic, painful, maddening effects of systemic racism. That's a sample that you can reference if you're not able to come up with the language on your own. I am highly disappointed in the results of the Human Relations Commission meeting yesterday. We are not going away. We will not be silenced by a gavel or by excuses. We will be watching until you take appropriate action.
Black Lives Matter!
Black Lives Matter!
All right, we will move along next to, I don't know if anyone would like to address that. If not, we will move along to the person whose last four digits of the phone number are 9226. Good evening. Good evening. Would you like to address the council? All right, we'll go on along to the next member from the audience, Mr. John, Mr. Hillers.
Hi, I would like to, as you said, my name is John Hillers. I am a homeowner and a voter in Livonia. I would like to address a couple things that happened in the last council meeting. President McIntyre, you interrupted my statement to correct me and say that it's not true that 83.5% of males ticketed in Livonia are Black. That statistic actually is true. The number you were referencing is the number of Black males compared to overall. Also, Livonia police are ticketing Black females more than they are ticketing white females. I'm not sure what's so scary about Black females in Livonia PD, but it does seem to cause them to want to pull the car over on suspicions.
Excuse me, Mr. Hillers, it's difficult to hear you because there's some background noise.
You mentioned before that Mr. Barr mentioned that he doesn't know what to do for racism in the city of Livonia. And you've both mentioned that you have no authority as the city council. I would like to turn your attention to the city charter, Chapter 4, Section 26 states that the Livonia City Council has the authority to appoint investigators over any department within the city of Livonia. So either the Livonia Police Department isn't a department or it's not in Livonia and needs to have its name changed, or you do have authority to set up a citizen review council, citizen review committee, call it whatever you want, with the power and authority to investigate every complaint that comes into LPD and stop letting the police themselves.
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
All right, we have a few minutes left for some additional, we'll go on next to Sarah O.
Good evening, City Council members. Good evening, Mayor Brosnan. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, I had to check. So like the previous callers, I am, wanting to address the issue of systemic racism in Livonia. And what I would really like to talk about is how you all seem to have a lot more power than the average citizen of Livonia, and yet you are not feeling as empowered as the people who are calling into these meetings. At least that's the impression that I get. You could be working towards the same sort of goals. I'm a preschool teacher. I have a feeling you would get a lot farther than I would in terms of trying to address issues of transparency and accountability. And so I think that is where the frustration is coming from people when the city council passes things along to the mayor's office and the mayor comes on the Human Rights Commission meeting and says, I would like you guys to gather stories for us. So that's kind of how I'm feeling, is that there's a lack of ownership of your own power and responsibility and complicity in the problems that occur in the city of Livonia. I live here, I pay taxes here, I went to high school here. Livonia is very near and dear to me. I don't want to leave. I want it to change and get better. I want my tax dollars to go to services that I feel confident in. I love hearing from previous residents who are asking for things like a citizens review board. I think many people have seen all of the best practices in policing that are out there. And it is a question of everyone being able to use their own privilege and their own power to do work to end systemic racism. So we all have the ability to do that. And you have an even greater ability, outreach, education, connections. And, we would love to have you join us in our efforts, whether that's as a council member or just as a citizen. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
All right, we will go next. Trying to scroll down without much luck here. I'm sorry. We have time for one more person before we're out of time, and we'll go to Kelly. Good evening, Kelly. Good evening, Kelly.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, this is actually Anna Kriegel. My Zoom's not really letting me log in. So I just want to say that The overall attitude of the council has been so disappointing. It's saddening, it's angering, and it's just downright unacceptable at the end of the day. The people of Livonia have voiced their concerns, they've asked questions, they pushed for change, and the officials keep digging their heels into the sand and plugging their ears. Living as a white person, your privilege is invisible to you until you're forced to wake up to it. Of course, it's hard to see it at first because it's the only way you've ever lived. There's no slurs used against us. There's no American history of white people being enslaved. There's no American history of white people not being able to use whatever bathroom we want, or whatever drinking fountain, or go to whatever store. No American history of us being banned from schools, of us being strung up in trees just for our skin color. In 2015, a Livonia man on Curlingbrook hung a Confederate flag and a noose in his yard. Racism lives here. Just now, on Levan, there's a man with signs that said he will find and kill gay people. And what did the Livonia police do? Nothing. You can say we've had the civil rights movement. We live in an equal world. But do we? What right do we have as white people to say that? Why do so many of you so vigorously ignore the cries of Black people? What do they gain from making this up? What do they gain from lying about hurt and trauma they and their ancestors have endured? What could they possibly gain? We have the data. We can see it with our own two eyes. We can see that Black men are ticketed far more than white men. Do you truly believe Black people are committing that much more crime? You defend the police tooth and nail, even given this information. Perhaps they too are blinded by the racism that lingers around us, even so long after slavery was abolished and so long after MLK marched for civil rights. Stop digging your heels into the sand. Stop plugging your ears. Stop covering your eyes. Now is the time to reflect and change, or history will leave you behind, and it will not remember you well. Listen to what the people of Livonia want. Stop fighting so hard against us. There is not a reason in the world we shouldn't be on the same team. See the reality, help us fight the reality, help do the right thing.
3 seconds.
30 seconds, Ms. Grigel. All right, we've reached the end of our 30 minutes set aside at the beginning for audience communication, and we will return to audience communication at the end of this evening. At this time, it's my pleasure and privilege to welcome our mayor, Maureen Miller-Brosnan, to provide an update on the work of the Human Relations Commission, and also to share a PowerPoint presentation with us. And the PowerPoint presentation will also be received and filed for use by council. Good evening, Mayor Brosnan.
Thanks, Madam Chair. And I appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with you all this evening, updating you on the work of the Human Rights Commission. It is my hope that following this discussion, that some of the concerns that residents have expressed during audience communication that there's some relief that's provided. The city of Livonia does not take racism lightly. It is something that none of us tolerate, that none of us wish to see in our community, in our city. And I do think that we all stand united on that front. I know that you have some words that you're going to offer along those lines later this evening during the course of the meeting. And I applaud your efforts in making a strong statement opposing racism in our community. Mr. Chairman, you can hit the next slide. First of all, I think it's important to note that following the George Floyd murder, cities across the United States found themselves in an amazingly unique point in history. And Livonia was very much like all of those other communities. We understood that we stood at a unique point in time. Residents were speaking out, residents were speaking up. They were asking their leaders to stand in solidarity with them in deconstructing prejudice and inequality and dismantling racism. The Office of the Mayor came out very early with a statement denouncing racism in our community and recognizing completely that the job that was before us was in fact not going to be an easy one. And I know that you recognize this right along with me. And that doesn't mean that because it's not easy, that we're not going to try. that we're not going to do our very, very best. So what I asked for, and you can hit the next slide, is a reconstitution of Livonia's Human Relations Commission, with the idea being that we really wanted to assure that everybody was treated fairly. For those of you who have been with the city for quite some time in leadership roles, you perhaps understood that the primary role of the Human Relations Commission in years past was in assuring that we had some type of a celebration around Martin Luther King Day. Clearly, times demand more of us. So it was reconstituted with a purpose that I really do think is what is going to be needed at this time. There were 4 charges that made this commission different than what we'd seen in the past. The first one is one that clearly recognizes and embraces the strengths that come with the uniqueness of people, and making sure that people are treated fairly, regardless of race, regardless of ethnicity, their national origin, religion, gender identity, sexual orientation, age, disability, or any other identifier that was used. The second thing that we understood that was a clear statement that Livonia was not immune when it came to issues of social injustice, that we don't stand as an island, that the entire nation right now is struggling, suffering, and needing to do better. And Livonia clearly understands that we too need to do better. We are no different than any other community in that regard. And there is great opportunity for communities around the country to do better. The third thing that we did in making sure that we charged the Human Relations Commission with something that was unique was that we clearly recognized that the movement afoot was one that started with young people. And that while we are clearly in any organization within the city not going to speak to and communicate with all of our residents, we understood that we had a unique opportunity here and now to put young people at the center of the challenge ahead of us. So there's a clear recognition that the next generation is the generation that is really going to help usher us through the changes that are going to be necessary. And then finally, we made sure that the charge of the commission is to work in collaboration, to make sure that we're working in collaboration with other groups in our community that have the same set of values, the same vision, the same desire to want to do better in a way that advances our city. We have found those kind of partners most recently in some of our major corporations, Masco being one of them. We have found those partnerships in some of the organizations that support other entities in our community, like the Livonia Chamber of Commerce. We have found that area of collaboration with St. Mary Mercy Hospital, which has an amazingly integrated population. We have found those platforms for collaboration with Livonia Public Schools, as well as the Clarenceville School District. So we expect that we're going to be able to build on those collaborative efforts to do even more. And we understand too, that this is not a problem that is going to resolve itself overnight, but it is also not an issue that we wish to drag our feet on. We wish to move with purpose. So in order to move with purpose, if you'd hit the next slide, it takes a group of people that understand where we're coming from and what it is that we're trying to do. So we've been very purposeful in trying to find people that have rich backgrounds in our community. And we have a number of people that have continued on the commission. In its previous iteration, Rich Glover was a member of the commission, and today he chairs it. Rich works for a global data firm and is an inside sales rep. His background in analyzing and understanding the power of data, I do believe brings him, it puts him in a unique position with the issues that are before us now. Kevin Aun is an attorney in the area of business law, so he clearly understands the importance of ending racism in making sure that our businesses thrive in Livonia. I had a chance to work with Kevin on Livonia Vision 21, which is the long-range plan for our community, and any of you who worked on that program, Council President McIntyre, I'm sure clearly remembers this, that there is a portion of the plan that does call for making sure that Livonia is in fact that arms wide open community. We have Wafa Dinero. Wafa is with the Wayne County Economic Development Corporation, where she serves as the director of the corporation and a director of brownfields. So Wafa understands development and and many of the issues around how you build a community, very physically, how you build a community that is welcoming. We also have with us Haltham Fakuri, and Mr. Fakuri is the owner of a digital marketing firm here in Livonia. Don Jordan is a public relations specialist with the University of Michigan. And we have Dr. Kennedy Rogers, who is a senior program officer at the Skillman Foundation. We also have Rachel Zuckerman. Rachel serves on the COVID-19 response team as well as the behavioral health policy team at the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. So she brings to us a statewide perspective. And the unique opportunity that I see that this commission has is that while they do stand in a very responsive mode, they can stand in a responsive mode, listening to the stories, listening to the narrative. They currently have a poll, a survey rather, that's active on the website, trying to gather information that's going to help us to understand where some of the root of racism is coming from in our community, so that we can develop those educational opportunities, those programming opportunities, those courageous conversations that are going to be necessary in order for us to continue the conversation that hopefully eventually brings an end to racism in our community. But they also have access to our city leadership, and they have access to city leadership through my office. They also have access to data. All of the data that was recently made open and available on the Police and Community Together website was data that was compelled by them, by people in the community that have been screaming for more transparency, by many of the coalitions and groups that you all hear from on a very regular basis at your meetings. So for people who are thinking that they are not making a difference, they are very much making a difference. Weeks ago, we did not have that data available the way that it is. Today, it is there. Weeks ago, we did not have an Office of Professional Services, an office that gathers all of the complaints, that gathers all of the best practices around diversity and inclusion. That is now in place as of this week in the police department. So there are changes that are happening. There are changes that are being compelled by the work of the Human Relations Commission, by the advocacy of people that are attending your meetings. And if you go to the next slide, some of the accomplishments in the very short period of time, and let's face it, the Human Relations Commission has been active for all of 2 months. They are a group of people that are meeting aggressively on a weekly basis, and they're inviting and engaging in community participation. They helped to shape the Unity Project, which was an outreach project by our Parks and Recreation Department, designed to really focus on those identifiers which set people apart, designed to help to engage the community in the types of conversations that are going to be necessary so that we all better understand each other. They have met with the Chief of Police to better understand the policies, the practices of the department. Those conversations are going to continue through my office. They are currently conducting that online diversity and inclusion survey that I mentioned to you, and they are working to collect more information, to collect the narrative that is going to help us to better define how we can be most impactful in changing hearts, changing minds, and really being a part of this nationwide groundswell to end racism. If you go to the next slide. So there are some things that on a regular ongoing basis, I am keeping the commission apprised of. These are some things that I on a regular basis am making sure that they know about that are happening on the leadership level. The leadership team meets on a monthly basis. Diversity and inclusion is an item that has been added to our agenda. All departments have been charged with finding ways to expand what it is that they're doing so that there is a diversity and an inclusion component to it. Most recently, the Unity Project is a great example of that. Another program coming out of our Department of Parks and Recreation is one that is, if you go to the next slide, please, is one that is going to be before you, Council, very shortly. And this is approval for the use of grant funds to take a look at all of our recreation facilities and make sure that they are ADA accessible. We know full well that they're not all ADA accessible. So part of what we're trying to do is to develop a long-range strategic plan for how we get them to be ADA accessible. Developing that plan will enable us to better attract grant funding that's going to be necessary in order to take on the costs necessary to do that. The third piece is a piece that's now coming out of our Human Resources Department on the issue of diversity and inclusion. What we have found in the short time that I've been in office is that the police department is actually leading the way in diversity and inclusion training. A recent, very small survey of our department leadership indicates that there is not a track record of diversity and inclusion training on a regular basis for our leadership team here in Livonia. That's a void. That's something that's missing and that we have to fix. Where most of our department heads are getting their training from, oftentimes is through their trade associations. And as many of you may recall, tough budget times put a freeze on a lot of that money that was used for training purposes. So what that means is that we are really going to have to spend some time bringing diversity and inclusion training in-house. And I've had a chance to talk with the council president about this concept. And she has asked that we make sure that the scope of the project is one that can accommodate the city council, as well as some of our other boards and commissions, so that everybody gets the ongoing training that they need in order to be just to be better at the work that they're doing, to be more astute, to be more attuned, to be more engaged. And then there are things that are coming out of my office on a regular basis that I do make sure to keep the commission apprised of. Two of those that I want to bring to your attention this evening are, first of all, the conversations that we've been having with the Masco Corporation. Masco has a diversity and inclusion initiative that they are really working hard to broaden the scope of. And they wanted to make sure, as one of Livonia's leading corporations, what we were doing around diversity and inclusion. As I indicated, early research would indicate that we have a lot of work to do. And so as we go about getting that work done, Masco has pledged their support in trying to help get us some of the resources that we need. We've worked with them in putting together some conversations with a group called the Michigan Roundtable as a way of bringing in some of that training in very short measure. We've also been in contact with St. Mary Mercy Hospital that has a very strong diversity and inclusion initiative that they do on a national basis through the Trinity Health Organization. And St. Mary Mercy has adopted all components of that and has actually been doing the work for quite some time. So again, I have an advantage there in that I serve as chairman of the board of St. Mary Mercy Hospital. I have an opportunity to sit on that Diversity and Inclusion Council, and they too, very much like Masco, wish to share their learnings with us, wish to share the opportunity for us to learn along with them. You know, I say this all the time when I get a chance to talk to people. I enter conversations very much like this, wearing two hats. I enter this conversation wearing the hat of a leader. I also wear the hat of a learner. And if you go to the next slide, please. Here's the lesson that I learned this week and that I want to share with all of you. Diversity is amazingly, amazingly important. But in the end, diversity, if it gets right down to it, can be a number. It can say that we have X number of representatives from X number of identified groups. And all of a sudden, we feel like we've done our job. And the true measure of whether or not we've done our job is whether or not we will have embraced inclusion. And inclusion is that point at which a diversified community feels welcome, that everybody feels welcome. And it's that goal that we're really working hard to attain with the work of the Human Relations Commission, with the work of my office, and with the help of all of you, because I know that you share these goals. I know you share these objectives. I know we all stand in solidarity in denouncing racism. It is a horrible plague on our society, and it is one that Livonia is not immune to. So I applaud the effort that I'm hoping that you make tonight in moving forward with a resolution that denounces racism in our community. And I would invite your questions at this time.
you. Let's go to, I'll switch back over here. We'll start with Vice President Barr. You need to unmute.
There we go. I think I'm good now, right?
Yep.
All right. Mayor Brosnan, thanks for taking the time to take us through that. It's good to see you here with us tonight. I can certainly understand the rationale, especially when you recap what the Human Relations Commission has been about over the years. You know, the idea that it needs to be reassessed in these times, I think is fair, and can certainly understand your rationale in that. I do have one concern with, as you were going through the presentation, and not the first time I've seen it, it's on the website too, but with the purpose, and I'm just want to make sure I get my words right here. The piece about shed a brighter light on racial and social injustice that permeates all communities, including Livonia. In what sense do you feel that racial injustice permeates Livonia?
Mr. Barr, I think, Vice President Barr, I think if you engage in the conversations that we're talking about engaging in, you're going to hear from any one of our department heads, any one of the leadership team, that they at various times have had complaints of racism. So you can talk to people in our Livonia public school system, you can talk to people at the St. Mary Mercy Hospital, you can talk to people at some of our major manufacturing establishments, and none of us are immune from racism. I don't think that any organization has gone unscathed.
I agree, no, that we see it a lot of places. And if you've listened to our council meetings over the last couple of months, you've heard me say that multiple times. But when we use a word like permeate, and this is just full disclosure, this is Google Dictionary, whichever dictionary they use, means to spread throughout, to pervade. If you look at pervade, it means to spread through and be perceived in every part of. Are you saying that racism is in every part of Livonia? Because, I mean, you say if I engage in the conversation, as an elected official here, I engage in conversations with our community all the time. I've engaged in conversations extensively on this issue, as I've talked about in our meetings. I don't deny that racism exists, it does. But to say that it is perceived in every part of our community, that's not the Livonia I know and that I see, and I struggle with that word.
And I don't struggle with it. And here's why. Because to permeate means that it goes deep, it runs deep. This is a problem that runs deep. And while it might not run through every single fiber of our community, Vice President Barr, I do think that it is a problem and it has been around for a very long time. It is not a surface problem. It is one that is going to demand years and years of work and understanding. And as soon as we begin to recognize that, that's when we will really see change.
Again, I don't disagree with that.
And we can quibble over words. And
well,
you can
words
you wish to use to define your commission when you get a chance to enable that commission.
But when we're talking about making statements, words are exactly what we're talking about. They mean things. And so I would very strongly disagree with you on that. I don't disagree that we see it in any community to some extent. I don't disagree that to the extent that it exists, where it exists, that's a deep problem that is something that we have to continue to struggle with. Don't disagree with any of that at all. When we use a word like permeate, we're saying it's in every part of this community. And you're saying that you agree with that. I just want to go on record and saying I flat out disagree with that, and would prefer to see that word changed within the purpose of this committee. It doesn't take anything away from what the committee is trying to accomplish, but I think it's important that we characterize this community in an accurate way. I have another question, probably a lighter question. When this online diversity and inclusion survey, curious as to what the outlets are that you intend to use or the commission intends to use in order to distribute that survey.
And that is really the beauty of the commission, Vice President Barr, is that much of the work that they're doing is organic at this point. I think once we begin to assemble some of the survey information, I think we're going to have a better handle on where the information is best placed and where it can help us to best advance the work of the commission.
Okay. And then finally, the third thing, and I guess this isn't so much a question, but just a concern that I want to express. As far as activating the next generation, that sounds good. And certainly we want to invite our young people to get involved. And certainly they bring a perspective to this can be valuable to the discussion. But, you know, I hope that with this and with all of our commissions that we don't forget an appropriate balance of perspectives, which I think is ultimately what you're looking for with diversity. We don't want diversity to become its own form of racial profiling or profiling in any way. What we're looking is for a diversity of perspectives, and that can't always just be assumed based on the way somebody looks. And in the process of that, when we're looking for that balance of perspective, making sure that we don't forget our older residents who have a breadth of experience that far exceeds that of our younger residents. That's not a nod, that just is. Livonia, you know, we often hear, I've been through 2 campaigns now, and, you know, it's common to hear questions about how are we going to attract young families? And it's a fair question. We all want to do that. But I'm always quick to point out to people that the breadth of experience that we have in this community is a huge asset for us. To the extent Livonia has an older population, there's an asset of wisdom, of perspective there that shouldn't just be cast aside. So I would encourage you with this and with all of our commissions. I know you've said that you specifically look for youth in filling these commissions. And I just want to encourage you not to forsake the perspective that comes with some of our older residents. There's still a lot there they have to offer.
And I think I made that very clear when I delineated that point. And again, I would say this, is that the commission has been reconstituted. This is their charge today. This is the world that we stand in today. These are the opportunities that we have available to us today. Today, 16 to 28-year-olds are deeply engaged in this issue. Today, 16 to 28-year-olds ought to be our target market when we're talking about how we're going to work to bring about change without ignoring everybody else, but just making sure that we place some emphasis on that particular group because they really have embraced this opportunity. And I really want to make sure that we don't overlook that. Now, tomorrow, the world may change. Tomorrow, we may need to put a new challenge before the Human Relations Commission. Tomorrow, we may need to target a different demographic.
That's all I had, Madam President. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I see that Councilmember McCullough would like to speak. Councilmember?
Thank you, Madam President. Mayor, and if any of our members of the Human Relations Commission are watching, thank you for all your hard work and dedication. I'm going to take kind of a jump at this, but to build upon the presentation, if it's the right time, I'd like to offer a resolution asking for a report and recommendation from the mayor's office about the current status of the city's staff training and policies related to the values that were listed in the slides and non-biased practices as they exist now and could exist going forward. I think this information will allow City Council and the mayor's office to collaboratively continue the work to make sure that everyone feels that Livonia is a place for everyone. Is that something that, did I do that correctly?
Are you, you're offering a resolution?
Yeah, a resolution for a report from the mayor's office.
Could you maybe just repeat a little bit?
I did write it here. So the resolution and a report recommendation from the mayor's office about the city's staff training and policies related to the values listed in the slides presented and the best practices as they exist now and could exist going forward.
Okay, Councilmember McCullough has offered that resolution.
I'll second that, Madam President.
We have support from Councilmember Jolly. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing no discussion. Madam Clerk, would you please take the vote on the resolution offered by Mr. McCullough?
Councilmember Donovic?
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly?
Aye.
Councilmember Toy?
You need to unmute. Councilmember Toy, you need to unmute.
It says I am unmuted.
You are now.
Oh, cool. Thanks. Yes. Aye.
Vice President Barr?
Aye.
Councilmember White?
Aye.
Councilmember McCullough,
Aye.
President McIntyre.
Aye. The resolution passes, and we have asked for that. I can't encapsulate all the words that you used, Mr. McCullough, but I think we understand the intent, and we'll make sure we get it right in the notes for the meeting.
Thank you.
All right, before I go to the audience, I do have a question. I'll defer council member.
Yes.
You're with us now.
Yes, finally. Thank you.
All right.
Very much.
Toy.
Thank you. You know, I appreciate this type of exchange at our council meetings. Excellent. It's good to have the mayor here. And I want to be respectful of you, Madam President, and our mayor and all of us. But, you know, this has been a great discussion. I just, you know, if we're going to get into a whole lot, which I think we should, because of the changes and as others are saying, it can change at any moment. So the mission and all of the things we're putting into this Human Relations Committee to repump life into it, I think is very valid in many ways, but I think we need a separate meeting or committee on it, honestly, because I think there's a lot of questions here. And do we have the time for this? I mean, I know, Madam President, you're cognizant of the fact that, you know, we have a 7 o'clock and then an 8 o'clock meeting. I don't mean to harp on time, but it's already 25 after 8. And there's a lot of good information, I think, that others want to understand. And I don't mean to speak for everyone. I mean, I've got about 8 questions alone right here that I don't want to take that kind of time to ask. So maybe, I know the mayor has a busy schedule and all of us, but perhaps if we could go to a committee, that would be helpful as well. Just a suggestion.
So are you?
How others feel, but.
Are you offering a resolution to put this in the committee?
Well, if you want a resolution or a motion, certainly, I can do that. I don't know what committee would be appropriate at this point.
Madam President,
Mr. Jolly.
if I may suggest to my colleague, Ms. Toy, make a motion to the Law and Education Committee, and I would be happy to support that. That seems to me to be the most appropriate place.
Perfect.
To discuss.
Perfect.
Thank
Be
you.
happy to do that. Thank you, Councilman.
All right. Councilmember White.
I was going to say, I think it's a good idea. This is can be a very complex issue, and we do need to spend the right amount of time to really absorb some of the changes going forward and what the proposals are. So I think it's a good idea that we look at this in depth in that committee. So thank you.
All right. So we've had the resolution offered. We have, I guess that was support, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So any discussion? If not, Madam Clerk, would you? I either have double vision or we have Mr. Donovic on here twice. I'm not sure which. Madam Clerk, go ahead and take the vote, but only call on Mr. Donovic once.
Councilmember Donovic,
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly,
Aye.
Councilmember Toy,
Aye.
Vice President Barr,
Aye. Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember McCullough,
Aye.
President McIntyre.
Aye, and we will, so the resolution passes, and we will refer that to committee. And again, before we go to the audience, I do have Mayor Brosnan a question, and like everyone, commend the work of the Human Relations Commission. I've been on a number of meetings. I know how much work has been done. I know the level of passion and concern of the council members. I did want to ask about the survey. When I hear the word survey, it means a certain thing to me. You know, I think, you know, I come from a data background, and a survey suggests that there's that you're collecting data. And in order to collect data, a survey has to be statistically valid, and it has to be sent to random. You have to collect responses from a random population. If you're not collecting responses from a random population, you have a survey that doesn't provide quantitative data that can really be analyzed from a data perspective. What you get, and maybe this is completely the intention, is a lot of valuable anecdotal data. I know you've talked about with the commission the stories that go along with the data we have. but there is a difference between data and stories. And if we're putting a survey out and using whatever outlets we use to publish it, and I think it's going to be on our website, the commission's website, I heard some other outlets discussed, and we just ask people to volunteer and respond, that's not data that we get. I mean, it's data, it's information, but it doesn't have value from a statistical perspective. So
I appreciate your thoughts.
Pardon me?
I appreciate your thoughts.
Thanks. Again, valuable, very valuable information, but it's not analytical data. All right. Anyone else? All right. At this time, I see that we have some members of the audience that would like to comment. And again, we'll remind the audience that when you're commenting on an agenda item, you have 2 minutes, and Councilmember White will be the timekeeper again. Go first to, let's see, I just lost one of the people. We'll go to Ben Ibura, or Ibura. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, Mr. Ibura. Are you there? I'm trying to get you unmuted so you can speak. Try again. There you go. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. Hi, can you guys?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Yeah, I wanted to comment on the you guys are essentially suggesting that this is rescheduled to another day where the proper amount of time can be given to this specific agenda or this specific agenda item.
No, excuse me. What we've done is we're putting this into a committee meeting, and we're putting it into our Law and Education Committee, which just gives us more opportunity to discuss it in depth. Those are public meetings, as are all of our meetings, and you can go on the City Council webpage and find the agendas and the schedule for committee meetings.
So when the information in these surveys are sent out, are these surveys composed from just your offices, or does the information come from the citizens, or is that something that you guys receive input from the citizens for?
Mayor, would you like to answer that question about the survey, who's creating the survey and the questions?
I'm sorry, I didn't, he was breaking up and I really didn't hear that.
I'm sorry, he asked where please, I'm not getting this. He asked the survey questions, where those will come from.
Survey questions have already been generated, and they've been generated by the Human Relations Commission. And Madam Chair, just a point of order. I believe I'm on your agenda as a department report at the beginning. I don't believe that I'm an agenda item that normally would open up for audience communication, given our structure. And so I just want point of order to our parliamentarian present. Perhaps we can get this straightened out.
I had asked someone in the law department if this was considered an agenda item, and I was advised it was, but apparently it's not. So I will certainly defer to our parliamentarian.
I would agree. It wasn't on the published agenda, so it is a department, more of an administrative report than an agenda item. So I think that we should move forward.
All right, then we will not, it's not an agenda item, so we'll have no audience communication. Thank you, and my apologies, Mayor.
No problem. Madam Chair, I do truly appreciate the opportunity to address the council and the committee in committee. And obviously, as you indicate, those are open meetings as well. And I think you're spot on. You know, you've got a lot of work to take care of at these council meetings, and setting this aside as a separate agenda item where we can spend a whole night diving into it, I think is extremely important. So thank you, council, for that opportunity. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor, very much. Very work by the commission, a great report.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, with that, we will move ahead with our consent agenda. Items 1 through 7 are listed on the consent agenda, and they will be voted on as one item. This does not mean that they are any less important than other items on the agenda, but rather that they have been determined not to be controversial in nature. And we did have new data. We had a citizen communication submitted to the council. on the item number 7 this evening. So do I have action on the consent agenda? I'm sorry.
So moved.
I will support Madam Toy's motion to approve. I believe she.
All right. Could we please go ahead and take the vote on that, Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Donovic,
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly,
Aye.
Councilmember Toy,
Aye.
Vice President Barr,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember McCullough,
Aye.
President McIntyre.
Aye, and the consent agenda is approved unanimously. And with that, we move on to unfinished business, beginning with item number 8. And this is a roll call vote. This is a proposed amendment to the Livonia Code of Ordinances as amended. This comes to us from the Department of Law to add section 225 and amend section 230 of chapter 04, Streets and Sidewalks of Title 12, to clarify the types of structures, specifically mailboxes, which may be installed in the easement or right-of-way along Livonia streets and roads. The first reading was given by Councilmember Jim Jolly at the July 20th meeting.
Madam President, I will happily offer second reading.
All right, is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, if we go ahead, please, Madam Clerk, and take the vote on item number 8 about amending the Livonia Code of Ordinances.
Councilmember Donovic,
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly,
Aye.
Councilmember Toy,
Aye.
Vice President Barr,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember McCullough,
Aye.
President McIntyre.
Aye, and the Livonia Code of Ordinances is amended by a unanimous vote, and the change in ordinance will become effective upon publication in the newspaper. Number 9 is a request to approve the quarterly budget adjustments. This comes to us from the Department of Finance for the first and second quarter of the 2020 fiscal year budget. Council?
Madam President, I will offer an approving resolution.
Support.
Support from Vice President Barr. Any discussion?
That was, I do support it, but that was McCullough. That
Oh,
support.
I'm sorry. Support from Councilmember McCullough. Any discussion?
Madam Chair.
Councilmember Toy?
Should I be raising my hand? Is that proper?
You should be raising it on the screen, but the virtual, because then I can see everyone, but I'm a very flexible council president.
That's what I figured. Okay. Madam Chair, I want to thank the council for delaying this in my absence at the last meeting. My concern on this is, as has been discussed earlier, as times are changing, we're getting in some money from grants and other places that we may not be used to. And I think it behooves us to take a hard look at those and those vendors that are being used as we go through some of these processes, so that we're very clear. We have an excellent finance department. I'm not questioning or being suspicious of anything at this point, but we can only look to the state of Michigan that got in some severe problems with some of these grants that they were awarding for the virus to very special interest groups. And that concerns me immensely. We want to keep a very clean slate in our city. We want to make sure that our dollars are spent with appropriate and upfront. And again, I'm not accusing anyone of anything, but I want to make sure that as we get these new special dollars coming in, we don't end up in any respect having any questionable kind of practices, accountability in this, transparency in this as well. When this came about, that's why I asked who the vendors were and what the dollars were spent, so that we're clear about the kinds of dollars we are. In past councils, we had this same issue where we were being cut off of knowing what vendors were being used for various items, I recall. So again, I'm not accusing anyone, I'm not saying that, but I think that we should all be aware as we go through these kind of new venues of both dollars and procedures with this kind of pandemic going on and other kinds of social issues that we're facing, where those dollars are being spent and where the donations and such are coming from. And I think the seven of us keep an eye on that, as well as our great finance director and our mayor's office. And so I just wanted to be clear on that as we, again, experience some of these nuances. And I would be remiss if I didn't bring that up. I hate to say it, but in the legislature, I served on appropriations, and it's a very important thing when it comes to the city's money, as we all are aware of. And again, I'm not pointing fingers. I just want us to be aware of these nuances. Okay, Madam Chair, is that kind of clear?
Yes. Are you, that you're making a comment on the
Well,
item?
I'd like to, yeah. I mean, if you want to study it further, we can always put it to a committee. It seems whatever feels necessary to my other colleagues that, may have questions. I don't know. But anyhow, that's kind of where I was coming from on this. I just wanted to explain it.
Madam President,
Yes.
if I could just add a couple comments to Ms. Toy's comments here. As I'm sure she's familiar with the annual city auditing process being done by Plant Moran, part of that audit every year specifically focuses on federal grant dollars and to ensure that we are using those appropriately. I believe any items that you are listed as being potentially concerned about us using them in the proper way would be reviewed by Plant Moran in that process. So that process may already exist. We just need to make sure that we are complying with those regulations. I think Mr. Barr would be happy for me to note this, but we have very few issues with the audit. And I can't recall any issues at all in my time here with the city with federal grant dollars being misused or misspent in some way not pursuant to their goals. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, and thank you, Councilmember Toy. Anything else on this item?
Madam President,
Yes, Vice President Barr.
quick clarification and then a comment. The clarification, I'm going to go through you to Jim because I think he probably knows the answer. This was a federal grant, wasn't it, Jim, or anybody? Was it a federal grant? Or Laura's nodding her head. I don't mean to put you on the spot, Jim. I just thought you might know.
My understanding is yes.
Okay, and I know we had that information a couple weeks ago. I just haven't looked at it recently. Just a comment. I mean, I'll support this tonight because we're talking about a budget adjustment for something that's already been used for its intended purpose. It's $25,000, intended to help drive census turnout. We got it for that purpose. We spent it for that purpose. Fine. I'm fine with moving on with that. But I do want to just acknowledge, I understand Laura Toy's point. I think I'm not losing any sleep over this particular instance, but it is instructive in the fact that it's the tip of the iceberg of a lot of federal grant money that gets given out for a lot of reasons, and that gives a lot of leeway for connected people within politics to funnel it to where they want. And we're going to see this again. We've seen it before, and this isn't a Livonia issue. I don't have a problem with what Livonia did with this. But citizens, you want to know why we're in debt, and you want to know where all our spending goes. I mean, this is the tip of a large iceberg that is encumbered with the very problem that Councilwoman Toy is talking about. So that was it. Thanks.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Councilmember Toy.
I mean, you read about this kind of thing in the newspaper with the state of Michigan, okay? So it's nothing new. And I'm not saying Livonia's doing anything discreditable or anything else. I'm just saying we want to be aware, as Councilman Barr has said, it's a tip of the iceberg as we go through these new times with new dollars coming in, et cetera. We don't know. Plant Moran doesn't research the vendors. I'm sorry. I don't think so. I mean, maybe they do, but I've never known them to dig deep. in regards to vendors, okay? And in politics, there can be a lot of political paybacks, if you understand where I'm coming from. And I don't want to accuse anyone of doing that. I don't mean it in that respect. I'm just saying we want to make sure that we are accountable, transparent on what we're spending and the kinds of federal dollars we're getting in, because there's a lot of money going around right now. And, you know, not only in our city, but other cities, there's a lot of, you know, these different kinds of, excuse me, all the kinds of things we need for this COVID, you know, stuff that's appearing, okay? And who gets what, when, and how, okay? So we want to make sure that we are the public body that's a check and balance. So you want to be the check and balance, you know, as well. We have a wonderful finance director. We have a wonderful city here. I just want to keep it intact so that we're all aware of it. That's all.
Thank you, Councilmember Toy. And I believe that our finance director, Mr. Slater, would like to comment here. Let's see if I can get this. Mr. Slater, good evening.
Good evening, Council. Mike Slater, Director of Finance. I'm going to speak to this item particularly, and then maybe just a broader description of how dollars are spent. On this item, it was $25,000. It was from the MML, so it's not a federal grant. But it was restricted for the purpose of the census. Council requested that we provide details of how that money is being spent, and that report was sent from the mayor's office. The mayor's office handled the information, or the spending of those dollars for the purpose that it was intended. And I believe they're on the line too if they want to chime in. But so none of those dollars spent was over $15,000, which would be the threshold that would come to council for approval. So we're not really even asking for approval of the vendors in this case, just like any other purchase the city would make under the finance ordinance, under certain limits, as long as it's within a budget, we can spend that. What we're doing here is getting it within the budget, because obviously this was unanticipated and the dollars are being asked to be recognized as dollars coming in and then dollars appropriated. On any other grants, whether it be federal, state, or anything, any expenditures that exceed the limit that we have the authority to spend within the administration would come to council, and council would have the opportunity, like we do for many things, to review the item and approve bids and all the other things that go along with that. So hopefully that clarifies it a little bit. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Slater. I think that helped clarify things. Everyone, anyone else have any questions or comments? All right, well, thank you everyone for your comments, and thank you again, Mr. Slater, for clarifying that. All right, so I guess we didn't take the vote on this yet, did we? All right, but we did have. I'm sorry. We did.
Councilmember Jolly and Councilmember McCullough.
Got it. I was sure we had. All right. Madam Clerk, would you please take the vote?
Follow up, didn't I?
I'm sorry. I just heard somebody say something. Okay.
Councilmember Donovic.
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly.
Unmute, Jim.
Aye.
Councilmember Toy.
No.
Vice President Barr.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Councilmember McCullough.
Aye.
President McIntyre.
Aye. So the quarterly budget adjustments are approved. Item number 10 is a request to donate a parcel of land to the city of Livonia. This comes to us from Andrew Warner from Norwest Financial Group. The land is located at 28330 Clarita, and it's parcel ID 046-99-0054-002. And it's respectfully suggested, and this is the new data to which I referred earlier. It's respectfully suggested that email communication from Andrew Warner dated July 30th, 2020 with respect to this item be received and placed on file for the information of the council. Councilmember White.
I'll offer approval for sake of discussion.
All right.
Support.
Support from Vice President Barr. Council.
I have a question for our city attorney. Paul, in the new data we got, there was a statement that this has been reviewed both by law and engineering, and there was no objection expressed. Is that correct?
The law department sees nothing wrong with it in the legal perspective. The wisdom of it's up to council. We're not expressing an opinion as to the wisdom of accepting the gift, but we are saying it is legal to accept the gift.
Okay, thank you. And to the city engineer, same question, as far as any engineering issues you might see?
To the chair, to Councilman White, yeah, we have no issues. It's just a matter of obviously taking over the property and going from there. But yeah, no issues on the engineering side of things.
I don't have any other questions.
Okay.
At this point.
Anyone else have any questions? Anyone in the audience?
Madam President.
Yes, Vice President.
Yeah, through the chair to Mark, probably, Termina, Planning Director. Just want to confirm, the data that we got on this was quite thorough and did a good job of explaining the situation. So whoever instigated that, thank you. But Mark, I just want to confirm with you about the city not having any plans to connect Clarita Street. Because just with a cursory view on Google Maps, I can see how that could maybe have some plausibility. But I just wanted, the document we got claimed that the city had no intention to ever do that. I just wanted to ask you about that.
There are no current plans to extend Clarita adjacent to this property.
Okay, and in asking, I'm not suggesting that we should. I'm just making sure that I'm abundantly clear. I mean, because if we're going to do something like this, it would be hard to reverse that. Well, maybe it wouldn't be, but anyway. Do you see, to Mark, or if anybody else wants to weigh in from the city, do you see any downside? Is there anything the city's taking on here that we could perceive as an undue burden by taking this land on?
Maintenance of the parcel would be my first. Go ahead, Mr. Bennett.
It's a piece of property, you know, again, I'm not the engineer, I'm not the economic development, but I sat down with them and looked at it. In order for that roadway to ever go through, correct me if I'm wrong, we would have to use eminent domain to take a part of somebody else's property to do it. I don't think the city ever wants to be in the position of doing that. I don't see the possibility of it ever happening. I think we're taking on responsibility for property that adds no value to the city. But that's from a legal perspective, we certainly are entitled, we could accept it. I just don't see the value in it, and I don't know that if Mark or Todd disagree with me.
Thank you for that. That's helpful for me. As far as maintenance goes, again, I'll admit, I actually remember walking this street in that area when I was doing my campaign last year, but I have not been over there recently. I'm only looking at Google Maps, and it looks to be a pretty heavily wooded area. If that were to be classified as a nature preserve, which I'm guessing the neighbors would like, is that possible? And would that, take away the bulk or maybe the entirety almost of the maintenance costs for us? And what would be the ramifications of that? I guess I'll ask that to Paul.
I can't tell you the remedy. I can't tell you whether or not the process, because the just never even thought about turning it into a nature preserve. But bottom line is that property truly should probably go to what concerns me is that property should be going to the resident to the west of it, and he wants no part of it. In essence, is we are taking on and adding to his parcel of property for him, for that, or him or her, for whatever purposes. And we are pretty much taking care of and taking something off the property rolls on top of it. Because that is a piece of property that is on the property rolls that someone's paying taxes on. Now we're taking it off the rolls. For what I can see, the only purpose is to add to somebody else's property.
So if I were, or it's not I, if we were to deny this as a council, obviously nobody knows what would happen, but presumably, one of the things that the property owner suggested, I don't know that he would, but he suggested he could just stop paying taxes on this and it would get foreclosed on like he got it and it would go to auction. And if nobody wants, and when it does that, it either presumably gets bought at a very, very low price like this guy did because nobody wants it, or I guess that would be if nobody bids on it, what happens?
The county or the city owns it.
Okay.
The county would own it, and I think we have the right of refusal on it, but I don't to purchase it. But again, it holds very little value to the city.
Sure. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. I think I'm all set. Thanks.
All right, anyone else?
Madam President?
Yes. Is that Mr. Donovic?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Through the chair, this question may be for Mr. Termina. In the event that this does pass and the city now takes ownership of this property, is there an avenue for the city to sell this property to maybe someone that would like to purchase it in the future and someone that hopefully would want to pay their property taxes?
I don't see why not. I guess that would be a question for our legal department. I don't think there's anything via a donation from a private entity. I don't believe there's anything that would restrict or limit the city's ability to sell the property to another party.
I don't think we would be restricted from it. I don't think, given our zoning ordinances, it's a buildable piece of property.
Correct.
Why anybody would buy it other than the person who's immediately to the west makes no economic sense at all that I can see.
Yeah, and that was really going to be my point. Councilman Donovic is more than likely it would be one of two adjoining property owners, and what the amount of that sale would be could be determined by the city. But to go to somebody with an interest in building it, it presents some real challenges. As you can see, it doesn't meet the current zoning standards for RUF in terms of lot size. That means doesn't preclude it altogether from being developable, but apparently it hasn't happened at this point. So there must be some significant constraints to trying to develop that site.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember McCullough?
Thank you, Madam President. Just a quick, there's a lot of times, and I kind of want to state that some things free are not always free. This would be, looking at this piece of property, it's very unique. And as our city attorney stated, it really doesn't provide value to the city. So looking at it, I don't see a benefit. I just see more of an issue and a burden that would come with the city.
All right, thank you, Councilmember McCullough. Councilmember White.
Based on the information we're getting tonight, I will withdraw my motion if the supporter will agree.
I was going to do the same thing, although I had another question. But
Okay.
I will withdraw my support as well.
All right, so we have no motion. But wait,
Madam President?
Vice President Barr.
I'll offer a motion to deny for sake of discussion.
I'll second that.
Support.
All right.
Okay, I have a question, Madam President.
Yes, Mr. Barr.
Just one additional question, and Mark, you may have been touching on this, and I missed your point. What would keep someone from buying this property, even if it were? Well, hold on a second. I need to ask a question before I ask that question. Does this property include, if Clarita Street, coming from Lathers, so the east side of this property, if Clarita Street were to be extended straight west for, say, 1 to 2 lots, would those lots be within the piece of property that we're talking about? Or is it a sliver of property that's offset and that wouldn't include those?
I guess I'm struggling to fully understand your question.
Let me try one more. Let me try. What I'm saying is if somebody were to want to extend Clarita Street on the east side, extend it one or, you know, say to put an extra house on each side of the street. If they were to do that, would those houses be sitting on this piece of property we're talking about?
If the Clarita were extended in this direction, east.
No, to the west. So I'm going from the other direction. There you go. If it were to be extended west.
If it were extended to the west.
Yeah.
No,
it won't. I see that now. Okay. My questions have been answered. I'll stick with my denial. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
So we have a denying resolution on the floor from Council Member, Vice President Barr, I think with support from Council Member White. Is that correct?
Jolly,
sorry. All right, any other discussion? All right, seeing none. Anyone from the audience wishes to comment? Seeing none, if we could go ahead, please, Madam Clerk, and if you would take the vote, call the vote on the denying resolution to not accept the donation of the land.
Madam President, just not to go out of order here, I see a hand blinking on the screen. I don't know if they're trying to make communication or not. I don't want to make.
No, it's been up there, Mr. Jolly, for up there for the last 15 minutes.
Sorry about that.
This item.
Councilmember Donovic,
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly,
Aye.
Councilmember Toy,
Aye.
Vice President Barr,
aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember McCullough,
Aye.
President McIntyre.
Aye. So the request to donate the parcel of the land is denied. All right, moving on to item number 11. This is a request to approve First Amendment to the lease agreement for a city-owned building at 33251 5 Mile Road. This comes from the Department of Law between the city of Livonia and Manouche Villieu Sam's Place Family Restaurant for the period ending August 31st, 2022, with one successive option to renew for an additional 1 year. Council Resolution 264-05.
So moved.
Support.
Toy and Jolly.
Donovic.
Yes, Councilmember Jolly.
So I was the individual on council who had many questions for the law department in regards to this. I did have an opportunity to speak with Mr. Bernier. I'm satisfied that this is in the best interest of the city at this time and that we will not be impaired from any future development or any future goals of the subject property. With that being said, I will reiterate, this is a good family-owned restaurant business in the city of Livonia. And I'm happy that they're staying there, at least for the time being, until the city can move forward with the master plan. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Councilmember Jolly. Anyone else, any discussion? Anyone from the audience? All right, seeing none, we will go ahead, please. Madam Clerk, and if you'll please take the vote on the approval of the First Amendment to the lease agreement.
Councilmember Donovic,
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly,
Aye.
Councilmember Toy,
Aye.
Vice President Barr,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember McCullough,
Aye.
President McIntyre.
Aye, and the First Amendment to the lease agreement is approved. With that, we move on to new business. Item number 12 is a request to approve the emergency purchase of 5 additional Lucas chest compression systems from sole source vendor. This comes to us from Livonia Rescue to place this equipment into service for the personal health and safety of our first responders due to the COVID-19 declared emergency from the response.
So moved.
Second.
Second, and it looks like we have Mr. Unsworth from the fire department with us this evening. Good evening, John. Let's see. I'm trying, John, to let you talk. There we go. John?
Good evening, Madam President. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good evening. I'm here tonight to requesting an approving resolution for the emergency purchase of 5 Lucas chest compression systems. This purchase was made during the onset of the COVID pandemic. Brings our equipment in line with, we had 5 units on our frontline squads, and these were placed on our frontline engines. They were purchased using budget funds approved by finance, and they have been submitted for reimbursement already through the CARES Act. We anticipate to recoup approximately 75% of this cost. The Department of Defense, the CDC, and all local and state protocols recommend the use of these mechanical compression devices. I've had great success with them. During the period of March through June, we used them more than we would during a normal whole calendar year. So they've been very successful.
Madam President,
Yes,
I'd be happy to offer approving on this.
I think we did.
I'm sorry, I'm thinking study meeting. Bear with me, it's been a long night.
That's all right. And I just to just a moment, Councilmember Toy. This was one of the items when I was sitting in on the leadership meetings and advising, sending notes to council. This was one of the items that I had flagged as there were only a handful of emergency purchases made during COVID that we knew would come back to council. So anyone else comments? Member Toy.
Thank you so much. If I may to Mr. Unsworth. Mr. Unsworth, is this a sole source provider? You know, is there just one company that makes these, sir, or are there several companies? Do we know?
No, ma'am. There's a sole source vendor through Stryker Medical. It matches so this purchase matches the current 5 we already had.
Excellent. Okay. Super. Well, thank you for all the work you guys do with those. They're amazing.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Any other discussion? Anyone from the audience? All right, seeing none. Madam Clerk, if you would please go ahead and take the vote on this emergency expenditure.
Councilmember Donovic,
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly,
Aye.
Councilmember Toy,
Aye.
Vice President Barr,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember McCullough,
Yes.
President McIntyre.
Aye, and the expenditure is approved. And with new business item is a request to release the general improvement bonds. This comes to us from the engineering division for Dover Court site condominiums located on the south side of Ann Arbor Trail between Norwich Avenue and Wayne Road, 3447 Ann Arbor Trail, and 34391 Dover Avenue in the southwest quarter of Section 33. And this relates to Council Resolution 290-19. Council. Anyone?
I'll offer approving.
Second.
Support from Jolly. Discussion? All right. I do see a new hand. Did someone see a new hand up? I'm going to go to this audience member in the event that he wishes to speak on this agenda item.
Hello?
Mr. Best?
Yes, I have to apologize. We're on the agenda, and I've been on for like an hour, but was the study meeting, did that happen yet, or are you guys just running?
We have not started. We haven't finished.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, if you want to take me back, maybe I missed it.
No, you didn't. You didn't. Well, We'll be getting there eventually, but thank you. Thanks for your patience. All right, no discussion from the audience, no additional discussion from council. Madam Clerk, could you please take the vote?
Councilmember Donovic,
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly,
Aye.
Councilmember Toy,
Aye.
Vice President Barr,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember McCullough,
Aye.
President McIntyre.
Aye, and the release of the general improvement bonds is approved. Item number 14 is a request to waive the formal bidding process and authorize additional funds and additional expenditure and approval of revised contract amount to Hard Rock Concrete. This comes to us from the engineering division regarding and approving an increase of $400,000 to contract 20C to provide concrete patching along Schoolcraft Road and reconstruction of Veronica Drive approach and Quakertown Lane from budgeted funds. This is Council Resolution 103-20. Mr. Zelinski.
Thank you, Madam President. We had an opportunity to take advantage of some concrete repairs. We were told by DPW they have an issue with keep coal patching Veronica Drive off Levan. We also wanted to get some of the patches done on Schoolcraft. It's been 6 years since I-96 was redone. We have some bad patches where the contractors will be working near Levan and also by Merriman Road. We're trying to get that dedicated left turn at Merriman going eastbound on Schoolcraft. Then would you turn left or go northbound on Merriman Road? We're trying to get that area cleaned up. So we're asking for your approval along with a portion of Quakertown Boulevard from 6 Mile to Meeting House Lane, any amount of $400,000 using the unit prices through Hard Rock Concrete. And if you have any further questions, I'll be happy to answer those. That increases the contract amount from 4.4 to 4.8 million. Again, trying to take advantage of the contract unit prices. As you know, nothing ever stays the same. It usually goes up the following year. So just trying to address a couple of concerns for maintenance issues and do the right thing before winter sets in, and appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Zelinski. I see Councilmember White.
I will offer approving.
Support.
I should have asked for that first, sorry. I do see someone who has a hand up. I will go to the audience in the event that they wish to comment on this item. Oh, no, Ms. Warner already spoke during audience communication, so this is not related to concrete repairs. All right, anyone else from council wish to speak? I see no one else from the audience. Madam Clerk, could you please take the vote?
Councilmember Donovic,
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly,
Aye.
Councilmember Toy,
You're muted,
You're
Laura.
muted.
I'm so sorry. That's a big aye.
Okay.
Vice President Barr,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember McCullough,
Yes.
President McIntyre.
Aye. And the expenditure and the authorization for the additional budget. Anyway, it's approved. Sorry. All right, number 15 is a request to authorize an amendment to the engineering contract with Anderson XC and Westrick, known as AEW, and authorize the expenditures. This comes from the engineering division to increase the construction engineering contract in an amount of $50,000 for the Schoolcraft Road concrete patching and reconstruction of Veronica Drive approach and Quakertown Lane from budgeted funds. Council Resolution 104-20. Council.
So move.
Support.
Support from White. Mr. Zelinski.
Real quick, part of the QBS program we have set up, it's based on a percentage of the contract. We had a $4.4 million contract. Now we have 4.8. You're just charging 12.5% for the engineering portion to have testing and inspection. The city is actually going to identify the locations of the patches on Schoolcraft Road, and DPW is actually going to assist in putting out the traffic control. Again, we're all working together to do the right thing before winter sets in and fixing these patches. And this is just part of the QBS contract process, of which we already have a set scale And again, if they don't use it, comes back to the city itself. So we're just trying to maximize, again, getting the testing inspection done to have a long-lasting product for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zlinczyk. Any comment? Seeing none, I'll go to the audience. Anyone from the audience? Seeing no one, if you could please take the vote on this, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Donovic,
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly,
Aye.
Councilmember Toy,
Aye.
Vice President Barr,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember McCullough,
Aye.
President McIntyre.
Aye, and the request to authorize an amendment to the contract and authorize additional expenditure with AEW is approved. Item number 16 is an acceptance of grant of easement. This comes to us from the Department of Law, secured without monetary consideration. Livonia Estates Limited, a Canadian limited company, for a public utility easement in connection with the sanitary sewer constructed at 31800 Enterprise Drive in the south half of Section 27. This is parcel ID number 46-108-99-0006-007. Council.
Madam President, I'll offer an approving resolution.
Support.
Discussion. Mr. Bernier, any comments? Okay. Anyone from the audience? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and take the vote, please, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Donovic,
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly,
Aye.
Councilmember Toy,
Aye.
Vice President Barr,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember McCullough,
Aye.
President McIntyre.
Aye, and the acceptance of the grant of easement is approved. Number 17 is also an acceptance of grant of easement, also comes to us from the Department of Law, secured without monetary consideration from Livonia Estates Limited, a Canadian limited company, for a public utility easement in connection with the sanitary sewer constructed at 11870 Hubbard Road in the south half of Section 27. This is parcel ID 46-107-03-0018-004. Council.
Approving.
Support.
That was support from Barr, McCullough on the offering the amendment, the resolution. Any discussion? Any discussion from the audience? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, if you could please go ahead and take the vote.
Councilmember Donovic,
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly,
Aye.
Councilmember Toy,
Aye.
Vice President Barr,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember McCullough,
Aye.
President McIntyre.
Aye, and the grant of easement is accepted. Moving on to number 18 is also an acceptance of grant of easement, also coming up to us from the Department of Law, secured without monetary consideration from HF 18 LLC, a Michigan limited liability company, for a public utility easement in connection with the sidewalk constructed at 27430 7 Mile Road in the southeast quarter of Section 1. This is ID 46-004-01-0530-000. Council.
Approve. Motion to approve.
White and was that Donovic? Oh, Barr. Any discussion from council? Any discussion from the audience? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you please go ahead and take the vote?
Councilmember Donovic,
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly,
Aye.
Councilmember Toy,
Aye.
Vice President Barr,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember McCullough,
Aye.
President McIntyre.
Aye, and the acceptance of the grant of easement is approved. Item 19 is a request to consider adopting a resolution. This is from Council Member Jim Jolly, to create a resolution regarding racism and prejudice in the city of Livonia.
Madam President, I make a motion to approve the following resolution.
Okay.
It is hereby resolved that it is hereby resolved that the Livonia City Council does hereby denounce racism. And it is further resolved that the Livonia City Council affirms its commitment and desire that all people shall feel welcome in the city of Livonia. And it is further resolved that the Livonia City Council welcomes and invites all people to take an active role in the well-being of the city of Livonia community.
Thank you. Do we have support?
Support.
Support from Councilmember McCullough. All right. Yes, Councilmember Toy.
Thank you so much. I just want to say thank you to Councilman Jolly for his hard work on this resolution. He did an outstanding job and got right to the point, and I think it's very clear, and I appreciate all the work you did on it, Jim, and others that also helped, but you were the main mover and shaker on this, and you did an outstanding job. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
I do see, if no one else in the council would like to speak, that there's an audience member who wishes to comment on this agenda item. All right. I'm trying to get
not on this agenda item, but I would like to tell you what's going on outside the city hall.
Wait, excuse me. Ms. Warner, did you want to comment on this agenda item?
No, but I want to tell you what's going on.
No, that you're out of order. This is audience communication on this agenda item. All right, it looks like we have someone else who would like to communicate with us on this agenda item. Good evening.
Good evening. This is Pastor Edward Pruitt again. I just wanted a point of clarification. This is a resolution that denounces racism and is not a declaration of racism being a health crisis. Is that correct?
You heard I believe you heard the resolution as it was read by Mr. Jolly.
Okay. Through the chair to Mr. Jolly. Did I have that correct?
Madam President, I'm happy to answer that.
Yes.
Stated, the resolution was what I read. I at no time indicated that I would be considering a public health crisis. And to be quite honest with you, I'm not a medical professional. I'm not a doctor. I understand the concerns that have been expressed. I don't believe personally that I am capable of making such a declaration, or to be quite frank, that the Livonia City Council is. That's my opinion. I have offered the resolution and read it aloud. Thank you.
And final follow-up, since I still have time, is have you all taken the time to consult medical professionals if indeed that is your stance? That is actually the last question.
You heard the statement. You heard the statement from Mr. Jolly. I don't know if anyone wishes to answer that question. This is a discussion of the. This is a discussion limited to the agenda item at hand. It's
that
not,
is towards the agenda item.
You heard the agenda item.
Correct. He did not mention who he consulted for that, so that's what I was trying to find out.
We wrote it. We consulted with a number of people, and we wrote it. So that's the answer.
So you're going to shut down community members? Okay.
No, we're not excuse me. We're not shutting down community members. You asked your question. You were provided an opportunity to ask your question, and your question was answered.
Well, I appreciate the condescending answer.
I didn't hear what you said, but thank you. All right. It looks like we have someone else from the audience that would like to communicate with us on this item. Ms. Duckworth.
Hi, yes. We reached out at the prior meeting. We asked that Mr. Jolly, who was writing this resolution or who suggested this, would get with some of us that were there at the meeting. We left cards, we left information. No one contacted us. So I would like to know because of no disrespect, you all being our Caucasian brothers and sisters, how could you draft a resolution that does not include the voice of people of color in the drafting of it? Because this is what we asked at the prior meeting, was that could we work with city council to draft the language for this resolution? So I'm wondering, since you, Mr. Jolly, did not reach out, nor any other council members, what group or people of color did you consult with? And I don't think your answer was good enough that we consulted somebody and too bad, so sad, that's it. No, transparency is what we're calling for, and that is what you owe the people. So if we're asking you, who did you consult with, the question should be answered and not condescendingly like Pastor Pruitt said.
Would anyone on council like to address?
President,
Yes, Council Member Barr.
just one brief comment or brief answer to that question. I think, and I don't expect that this will be received well, but I actually think we've been very patient through audience communication over the last several weeks and listening to those concerned on this call, in addition to community conversations that I'm sure many of us have had. I know I have. So, it's always important to listen, certainly want to listen. And that's why I've tried to patiently listen to what has been said to us. But this is a statement that we collectively worked on to put together. We're speaking for ourselves. And this is the expression of what we wanted to say. So thanks.
Well, I understand you're speaking for yourself. However, if you not being a person of color, you cannot say what is needed or what we feel should be represented. Racism does not affect you. It affects a person of color. So you and your privilege stating what you feel is best is not what's best. With all due respect, Council Member Barr, and I believe I was speaking to Mr. Jolly, who proposed to do this.
Excuse me, Ms. Duckworth. You don't speak directly to any council member.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't. No, you can't. Your comments are directed to the chair of the meeting, and that would be me.
Well, I'm not sure. Well, to you as the chair of the meeting. To you as the chair of the meeting, I think it is a disgrace for you all in your privilege to draft up a resolution that does not include the voice of people of color.
Ms. Duckworth, your 2 minutes are up. Thank you for your comments.
I know you were ready for that.
All right, I see no one new who'd like to comment. There's one hand up from someone who has already afforded one opportunity to comment on this agenda item, and I see no one else new from the audience that would like to comment. So, Madam Clerk, could you please go ahead and take the vote?
Councilmember Donovic,
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly,
Aye.
Councilmember Toy,
Aye.
Vice President Barr,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember McCullough,
Yes.
President McIntyre.
Aye, and the resolution is adopted. Moving on to item number 20. This is a request to schedule a closed committee of the whole meeting. This comes to us from the Department of Law for the purpose of discussing litigation and attorney-client privileged communications with respect to Christopher Lee, Marie Bay, and others versus City of Livonia.
So moved.
Moved by Toy.
Support.
Support from, is that McCullough?
Yep.
From McCullough. We could go ahead, please. If no one from the audience wishes to comment, we could take the vote, please.
Councilmember Donovic,
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly,
Aye.
Councilmember Toy,
Aye.
Vice President Barr,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember McCullough,
Aye.
President McIntyre.
Aye, and the committee is approved and will be scheduled. At this time, I would entertain a motion to suspend the rules.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Support.
Toy and Barr. Discussion? All right, if you would please take the vote, Madam Clerk, to suspend.
Councilmember Donovic,
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly,
Aye.
Councilmember Toy,
Aye.
Vice President Barr,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember McCullough,
Aye.
President McIntyre, I'm sorry.
Aye. And we'll go to item X1. This is a request to approve a joint declaration and resolution permitting temporary outdoor entertainment viewing areas during the COVID-19 emergency. This comes to us from the City Council President Kathleen McIntyre and Mayor Maureen Miller-Brazen to allow for the approval of temporary outdoor entertainment and viewing areas in connection with existing bowling alleys and banquet halls in the city of Livonia.
So moved.
Just a minute, I'd like to read that as we respectfully request that communication from Richard Blum, managing partner of Maryville, together with supporting, non-supporting documents from residents regarding temporary outdoor entertainment / viewing areas with respect to this item be placed in file, received and placed on file for the information of the council. Was that Toy?
Mm-hmm.
Support from?
Support.
Support from Dominic?
Beat you, McCullough.
Oh, whatever.
All right. Okay. Since I'm one of the people this comes from, I'm going to go ahead with an explanation. Mr. Bernier, is that allowed or do I need to pass the gavel? It's allowed, right?
That's fine. It's a joint resolution. That's fine.
Okay. Mr. Glom, the managing partner of Maryville, had reached out to the city, reached out to the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce reached out to the city, and bowling alleys have not been allowed to resume any of their business. And restaurants, as we know, have been allowed to resume at 50% capacity. And in response to that, the city, led by Mayor Mr. Terramina, I was also involved in that, decided that it would be appropriate, instead of requiring restaurants to go through a waiver procedure to add outdoor seating, if we put a temporary resolution in place that would allow them to do that through a approval process with the city. It would just be go through the Department of Inspection. And Mr. Glom approached us and explained that bowling alleys have not been able to open at all. And he was interested in pursuing opportunities to have some sort of outdoor entertainment at Maryville. And when I talked to him initially and explained to him, that the normal approach is a waiver use, and we had a discussion that waiver uses take, 5 to 8 weeks to get approved, and by that time we'd be at the end of the city. And I had suggested that the city would not be willing to entertain any deviation from the waiver unless he could show support from his neighbors. And he went to 25 neighbors on Bainbridge, not just the 13 that back up to the bowling alley, but the 12 across the street. And of those 25, and I think 4 of those homes are not currently occupied, he received letters back from 14, and 12 of the 14 were in support and only 2 were not in support. And that was part of the new information that you have in your file. So that's the background, and this would only apply to bowling alleys and banquet centers, and they would need to come to the city and receive approval for whatever they propose, just as we required restaurants to come to the city and show a plan. And any serving of alcohol would be done only with approval through Officer Ronayne over at the Livonia Police Department in compliance with all of our laws and all of the standards. Questions, council? Councilmember Toy.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I'd like to commend you and the mayor for listening to that business owner. He had called a lot of us, I think, on the council, but you guys picked up, and put it together with our other department people. Thank you very much for doing that. Any way we can help small business in this community right now in these uncertain times, I think behooves us and our economy. And, in my business, I employ tons of people that live in our community as well. And we've been hurt by lack of weddings, funerals, etc. So any way we can help small business and hear them, we need a sounding board for them even in our community, you know, somewhere where they can go. Because a lot of times people don't know where to go. That's why they come to the council. And we appreciate that, I think, you know, regardless of what it's about. But I just want to commend you and everyone else on this council that lends an ear to these folks, because being one of them, doing a business in this community 40 some years, I've never seen businesses, you know, that are having different types of issues than we're all not used to, if you know what I mean. Thank you.
And I appreciate that, but I also, that this wouldn't have happened without a lot of hard work by Mr. Termina, the law department, the police department, the inspection department, the mayor's office. So, you know, these things only happen because of the outstanding departments that are willing to step up and take on extra work for our businesses and also to be sensitive to residents. Anyone from the council before to the audience?
Madam President,
Yes, is that Mr. Donovic?
yes, Madam President.
Okay.
I would just also like to commend the city staff and the members on council. As a small business, it's already hard enough to operate, let alone during this current pandemic situation that we as a country and in a world have been dealing with. So to offer innovative ideas like this is something that's going to help small businesses stay in business, which will help us as a community. So great idea. And I'm looking forward to bowling alleys and banquet facilities, being able to work with the city of Livonia to continue to operate, pay their bills, employ residents, employ members of surrounding communities, and stay open and thrive even after this pandemic goes away. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilmember Donovic. At this time, we'll go to Mr. Glom, who I'm trying to get you unmuted here. Richard, there we go. Good evening, Mr. Glom.
Good evening, Madam President and council members.
Did you have any comments or anything you wanted to say before we take the vote on this?
Yes, I would just like to say thank you so very much for being so business minded and working with us so much. We have been closed now for 144 days, and needless to say, it's been very painful. This will also help us be relevant and stay relevant to our community and provide a safe, fun, family-friendly activity to do, where we will maintain the appropriate social distancing and appropriate health concerns that you all have put forth, as well as our governor.
Thank you, Mr. Glom. And again, you know, thank you for understanding how we had to start with the residents, and also just thank you to Mary Bull for being a great part of our community for 50 years. I see two other people in the audience who have had hands up for a long time, so I'm going to assume that they are not waiting to speak on this issue. Vice President Barr.
Yeah, I want to thank Mr. Glom for his creativity and willingness to put this forward. I also just want to say that this isn't, I do think it's the right decision to approve this. It's not something I do lightly, though. The type of activity that we're allowing here, well, I think it's creative and it's family friendly and is wonderful. With it being in such close proximity to a neighborhood is not likely something that I would have normally supported. But Mr. Glom's initiative to go and talk to the neighbors, and not only were there a lot of yeses, there were notes on many of those expressing enthusiastic support. And I don't want to discount the 2 no's that he got, but because it was so overwhelming in who he talked to, it does make it easier to approve this. It's also worth noting that the 2 no's were actually on, I think it's Rayburn Street that's up there, which they do abut Mary Bull, but they're behind the building. And so all the houses that most directly are affected by this were yeses. So I think this is a great thing, and it's another example of us trying to do what we can that's right for our businesses. Just briefly, though, it's also an opportunity just to underscore the real economic cost of what we're going through right now. Not disputing at all the reality of COVID-19 and the havoc that's wreaked with health, but but these decisions that we're dealing with beyond the city of Livonia have very, very real costs that are affecting people in very real ways that don't show up in health reports. And we cannot lose sight of that. And we just got an email. I think we all got the email today from the gentleman who was with the Livonia swimming club, and just talking about how they've had experience consistent with CDC guidelines and the latest science, where they've been able to conduct swimming practices in other places in a way that has been safe from a health perspective. But because of these blanket mandates coming from the state that say you can't open up a gym, or we can't accommodate them within the Livonia Rec Center. And it's just, I as one resident, am just frustrated with this. I feel like we're looking at this from one perspective and we're forgetting the real economic and activity costs that people are dealing with, that's forcing us to take some somewhat extreme measures of what we're doing tonight in order to help a Livonia business. Thanks for putting up with me on that.
Thank you, Mr. Barr. No one else from the audience? Madam Clerk, would you please take the vote on this? And this will be the last vote. You have to take this. Well, we have one more to go on adjourn, but anyway, would you please take the vote on this next item of allowing a resolution permitting temporary outdoor entertainment and viewing at bowling alleys and banquet centers in Livonia?
Councilmember Donovic,
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly,
Aye.
Councilmember Toy,
Aye.
Vice President Barr,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember McCullough,
Yes.
President McIntyre.
Aye, and the resolution is approved. So, Mr. Guam, I'm sure you'll be coming to City Hall shortly to work on your plans. Thank you. At this time, we go back to audience communication. Anyone who did not have an opportunity to communicate with the council during the first period of audience communication would like to do so now, they are able to. And I see one person who has not, perhaps two who have not yet communicated with the council. So I'll go first to Reno Kassar, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that name. It's Reno or Reno Kassar. So, okay. Oh, there we go. Thank.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Good evening.
Okay, it's Reno Kassar.
Reno Kassar.
Kassar. Well,
Kassar.
My name is Reno Kassar. My residence for 34 years is 36505 Roycroft Street at 5 Mile Road in Levan, directly behind the Mendelson Kornblum Orthopedics building located on 5 Mile. My complaint is a noise nuisance violations from two different sources from that business. Beginning in January of this year, I've been disturbed by an audible high-frequency noise emitted by an MRI machine that runs overnight, usually 4 times a week. The machine is parked in a bay just behind my backyard, and the noise carries right into my house, into my kitchen and my bedroom, forcing me to wear earplugs in order to get any sleep. The other noise emitted is by a boiler vent, which runs 24 hours a day, with a minor shutoff at 6 p.m. on Sunday evenings. This boiler vent used to, in the past, shut off at 5 or 6 p.m. during the week and be off during the weekends. I know this because a couple of times in the past, I've complained to the city about this roaring noise it makes, which was taken care of in a day. The MRI machine usually is delivered at 8:30 or 9 o'clock on Sunday evening, so I only get about 2 and 2.5 hours of peace per week. This is just unacceptable. I have made complaints with the Livonia Police Department. I've had multiple conversations with Dan Bahudger, the Environmental Control Officer of the Livonia City Inspection Department, Claudia Rowland, who's the RN and Clinical Director at Mendelson Kornblum Orthopedics. I've also spoken with the CEO of the business, Dan Cresco, who came into my house, heard the high frequency noise, and heard the motor running himself. Sarah Gilbert, an assistant to David Spivey, the CEO of St. Mary's Hospital, David Tim, the facility director at St. Mary's Hospital, and Mandy Kucher, owner of Southscape Engineering. I also contacted an attorney who suggested I contact the Livonia City Council, which I did, Laura Toy, who told me to contact David Spivey and come to the city council meeting to voice my complaints. So here I am.
All right.
Dan,
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Kassar.
didn't I have like 3 minutes?
Yeah, I thought you were done. Please continue. I'm very sorry.
Okay, Dan Bahajar took the sound measurements himself, which were higher than both the daytime and nighttime noise tolerance limits specified in the City of Livonia Noise Nuisance Ordinance. Both he and Dan Cresco agreed the noises were over and above the acceptable decibel levels. I am asking that the noise emitted by the Mendelsohn Kornblum building be abated during off-business hours. I know the business have a right to run, but I don't understand why this business is to run 24/7 and is allowed to be in violation of Livonia codes and ordinances. I also don't understand why this building was allowed to be built so close to residents' homes, especially my backyard, without an acceptable space in between. I pay my taxes. I don't feel the city of Livonia has my best interests at heart. I'm just asking for some peace and quiet as I had in the past. Thank you.
All right. I want to thank you, Mr. Kassar, and thank you for your patience. I know it was a very, very waiting to address us. And all of this information that you've given us is very helpful. I assume you've got this all written down.
Yes, ma'am. Times, dates. I've been going through this.
I'm going to.
January. I'm sorry.
No. I'm going to ask you, and you can do whatever's easier. You can either email it to us, or you can print it out. And City Hall is open. You have to enter from the south entrances, but you can bring it into the desk. You have to wear a mask. You have to have your temperature taken. You could leave it in the red mailbox, or you could bring it into the desk where the two officers are, and get a copy to us, and we will be following up immediately with the mayor's office. And you know, as you probably know.
Are you talking about the ordinance office there or building?
No. You right now, the only way that you can come into City Hall is through the south entrance, which is the one that faces over towards where the department is.
Okay.
Okay, and you have to wear a mask and have your temperature taken. You can bring it in directly and give it to the officers at the front desk and just for City Council, or you can put it in the red mailbox outside of City Hall. And I think Susie, Madam Clerk, that gets checked daily, right?
Mm-hmm.
Happy if it's not bad.
I only had like 3 minutes to write this. So there's other things that happened in the past, but this is just like a general summary. Okay, well, so couldn't go into detail.
Well, you know what? Just get the information to us, okay? And I think what you've given us tonight is going to be enough, at least for us to initially follow up on this. But please get that information to us, and I can assure you we will do the follow-up. And this has been very helpful, and all your detail and the things that you've done and the data you had was very, very helpful to us in pursuing this.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you listening to me.
And again, thank you for being so patient and staying in there till the end of the meeting. But I promise you, we will be following up and back in touch with you.
The hand that you saw before that was coming up, that was me. This is the first time on Zoom.
Okay.
So I didn't really know how it worked.
Well, I figured when I saw hands up throughout multiple items, talk to us at the end. So thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate
Good night.
it. Okay, good night. And it looks like we have one person who has not yet spoken back to communicate with us, Amanda Marie.
Hi, Council. I attempted to raise my hand during item number 20, and for some reason there was some kind of error. I do have a screenshot of that happening.
I'm very sorry.
So I wanted to read the dissent from the Honorable Circuit Judge Clay on Bay versus Falk, which was leading up to item 20. On a cold winter evening, Christopher Bay and two of his friends drove to the 24-hour Meijer in Livonia to purchase a portable space heater. The Livonia Meijer did not have the space heater, so the men proceeded to the Canton Walmart to make their purchase. Bay and his friends were all black males. This fact alone elicited the suspicion from 3 undercover Livonia police officers, all of whom are white. The 3 officers, driving in 3 separate unmarked cruisers, followed Bay and his friends for an extended period of time, pursuing them across 3 local jurisdictions, while waiting and perhaps hoping for the men to commit a crime. When the men exited the Canton Walmart with the space heaters they had purchased, a Canton officer, who the Livonia officers had summoned, stopped Bay and his friends, ordered them out of their car, accused them of stealing the space heaters that the officer had already watched them buy. But the police officer's hopes of discovering criminality had failed to materialize. The only crime Bay and his friends had committed was shopping while black. This is a case about race. It is about police officers allegedly targeting, surveying, and detaining Bay and his friends because of the color of their skin. The majority chooses to minimize this uncomfortable truth. But the majority's failure to sufficiently acknowledge this reality neither changes nor obfuscates what is apparent to anyone who objectively examines the record below. The events that unfolded in the early morning hours of March 16th would never have transpired had Christopher Bay and his friends been white, or at least a jury could so find. And I just wanted to say that I understand holding closed meetings for current litigation is procedure, client confidentiality reasons, but we are following this story. This is a story that has made it to the courts because this man's rights were violated because of the color of his skin. As far as we're aware, this officer is still working for Livonia. So we are following this, and the result of that closed meeting will be held accountable by the city council.
Thank you. And my apologies that it was not at all intentional. I'm trying to, let people come in, and I think your hand was up for a while. So my apologies. There was absolutely no intent to keep you from speaking, as is your right on that agenda item. So thank you. All right. Next, we will go to Deborah Lindelbauer.
Hi.
Good evening.
Hi, I'm sorry. This is new to me also. I was on the new business agenda for Block Party, and I don't know if I missed it.
No, you didn't. You're waiting for the study meeting.
I'm sorry, you're breaking up really bad.
I'm sorry. You will be on at the next meeting. We have not even gotten to the study meeting yet. We're still finishing up the regular meeting.
Oh, and that's still tonight?
Yeah, that's still tonight. So meeting probably around 10. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And we have Mr. Glover from our Human Relations Commission. There we go. Good evening, Mr. Glover.
Hello, Council President. How you? Everyone's doing well, I hope today. It's been a very long meeting so far, and you have still much more to go. I just wanted to thank you guys for your consideration today. Additionally, I want to thank the mayor for coming on and all that she said as well, and Councilman McCullough as well for what you did as well, and Jolly. I guess I just wanted to kind of come in and just, I do sometimes, I try to be the voice of reason in these conversations and whatnot. And, a part of, I think, what I've witnessed tonight was just a little less concern. And that is a little concerning. But I do, on the flip side, understand that, this is a lot of the conversations you guys are probably enduring does get tiring from the standpoint. I manage a team of 9 in my work, and I also manage a D&I organization for my site. So I do get a lot of complaints about things that I'm not necessarily super passionate about myself, but it's my job to kind of, take that in and look at the bigger picture. I heard you guys talk about checks and balances around federal spending, this is all great things, but I do encourage you to have that same excitement or mission when it comes to this movement of current space we're in right now, because it's going to become very important, and your meeting is going to continue to be long and it's going to be frustrating. I think people are just looking for some type of response. And in that response, as the traction builds, these things kind of get resolved better and better. So that, not trying to, stir the pot too much more than that, but this is the first time I've said in a meeting. When I first came, before I was appointed on the commission years ago, I came and said in you guys' meetings there. So it's a little bit different dynamic, like everyone is seeing, but it's a different experience watching you guys' faces and watching how involved you are with different topics. And so I think that presents a different emotion to the public. So it's something that you might want to be, responsive of. And that goes for myself as well when I'm in these similar meetings. And it's good to see, how you meeting versus how I conduct mine. So I've learned a lot today in that regard. But I just wanted to thank you for the time. I wanted to kind of say that. And there was a question out there relative to the data we're collecting, and it is more anecdotal to answer your question.
30 minutes or 30 seconds.
Mr.
Oh, sure. At some point, we're looking at doing a more controlled study with an outside party, but right now this is just something that's more anecdotal to answer your question. Thank you guys so much.
All right, thank you for your work on the Human Relations Commission, and thank you for your patience and sticking around, and thank you for your comments. I don't know if anyone else has any comments? All right, well, thank you again, Mr. Glover, appreciate it. All right, and with that, we only have, the only person out there has already called in, has already spoken to us twice, and
Motion to adjourn.
thank you.
Support.
Support from Mr. Donovic, and I think we can safely show 7 on that, and we will reconvene for the study meeting at 10 o'clock at night. Thank you, everyone, and I'll remind everybody to put on mute and maybe start